Fox News lost to CNN. That's right. Sorry, Brian Kilmeade. Your ratings in the key demo are lower than that of Anderson Cooper's. CNN, they must be screaming and celebrating and high-fiving each other after this major blunder. Tucker Carlson's out. The ratings for the 8 p.m. slot on Fox News have dropped by about 50%, and in the key demo, they've fallen to third place. Now, to be fair, they're still winning in terms of general audience, but from 3.3 million viewers down to 1.7, and in the key demo, less than CNN. Ooh, wow. Talk about embarrassing. So we'll get into that story. Plus, we got a bunch of other political stuff happening, but we'll just jump to it. Before we get started, however, my friends, head over to publicsq.com. That's Public Square. Public Square is an app that allows you to find businesses that actually support American values. So right now, as we are all giddy with joy that the Anheuser-Busch boycott is working swimmingly, there's something you can do. You can download the Public Square app by going to publicsq.com and finding businesses on the map in your area that you can support so that you're voting with your dollars. If you're tired of woke corporations and businesses that hate your guts and you don't like the idea that you're giving them money, this is how you can find out whether or not your local businesses actually support you and your values. And not only that, many of these businesses are online businesses as well. So that means if you're going to order something off the internet, you can go on the app, you can find more businesses. We're big fans of Public Square, so special shout out. You can find the link in the description below. Download the app. Sign up today. publicsq.com. And also, don't forget, head over to timcast.com. Become a member to support our work directly by clicking that Join Us button. And you'll get access to our members-only Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals. And you will also get access to the members-only uncensored show Monday through Thursday at about 10:10 p.m. They go live on the front page of the website. And if you sign up for at least 6 months or at the $25 per month level, you can submit questions and potentially be a caller coming onto the show and hanging out with us and asking us questions. We do about 4 or 5 every night. It's the most fun, I say. And so we really do appreciate your support. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Steve Krakauer.
Hey, man. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a journalist. I've had a lot of different jobs over the last 15 years or so. Most recently, I just wrote a book, Uncovered, How the Media Got Cozy with Power, Abandoned Its Principles, and Lost the People. Tracks how corporate media just completely went off the rails over the last 7 years, and really tried to interview a bunch of people, not just my opinion, but talk to 25 people on the record. Everyone's on the record, no anonymous sources, including people like Tucker Carlson, reporters at the New York Times and other places. And you can follow my media writing on every weekly basis, fourthwatch.media at Substack. And my day job, normally I spend my time as the executive producer of Megyn Kelly's show.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah. That's interesting, considering that media is collapsing.
Yeah.
ABC News is getting rid of Nate Silver. BuzzFeed News is gone. Don Lemon's gone. And Tucker. So thanks for hanging out, man. This should be fun.
Happy to be here. Really honored.
Right on. We got the Potato Man himself.
This is unbelievable. I'm just going to get up and leave at some point. It's going to be Kanye all over again.
I thought that was your thing. I thought you liked being called the Potato Man.
I've told you repeatedly never to address me in such a manner again. And I'm constantly insulted. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Seamus Coughlin. I run a YouTube channel called Freedom Tunes where we make animated cartoons. We're going to be releasing one tomorrow about the Tucker Carlson saga. I also run a podcast on Rumble. It's called Shamer, if y'all want to go check that out. And I'm just looking forward to the show and to schooling Tim with some facts and logic about his anti-Irish bigotry and having a great conversation with everybody else.
I am Irish.
And yet you're self-hating. It's a sad thing.
Adrian Norman's back.
What's up, guys? Adrian Norman here, staff writer at Timcast.
And not Ian. Ian's not here.
I'm Black Ian.
Black Ian. All right. We'll go with that one. Adrian. It's almost in there. Ian's in there somewhere.
Oh, my gosh. That's true.
And then we got Serge pressing the buttons.
What's up, guys? Serge.com. Excited for today. Be fun.
All right. Let's jump into this first story from Mediaite. Cable news ratings Tuesday, April 25th. Fox News wins 8 p.m. in total viewers, but lands third in demo. I love how they kind of bury the lead. You'd think they'd headline this similarly to what we did. Check it out. The hour hosted by Brian Kilmeade on Fox News brought in 1.7 million viewers, which beat Chris Hayes' 1.45, and Anderson Cooper landed in third with 678,000. What they're not telling you is that Tucker Carlson just this past week was averaging 3.3 million viewers, meaning Fox News lost nearly half of their audience when they got rid of Tucker Carlson. And okay, I think Tucker's happy. I saw a video of him riding around in a golf cart with his wife, laughing. So he's probably like, great, I can start my own company and make a ton of money. Here's where it gets interesting, though. If we jump down to the key demo viewership, take a look at this. If we go to the 8 p.m. Fox News tonight, 149,000 viewers in the key demo. Anderson Cooper and MSNBC both beat Fox News. That is just laughably embarrassing. I mean, look at this. Jesse Waters beats both CNN and MSNBC. And then at 8 p.m., CNN and MSNBC beat Fox News. Chris Hayes has beaten Fox News. How embarrassing.
Chris Hayes and Anderson Cooper. I mean, this is honestly a disaster. We should point out a demo, the A25, 25 to 54-year-olds, that's what the ad sales are based on. It's not total viewers is great. Obviously, you want a big number of total viewers. But in terms of the traditional legacy media that these cable networks are, all that matters is the demo number. And that demo number, last week, Tucker Carlson was, 400, 500,000. I mean, that's as typical. 160,000, that is insane. And
50,
it's not
149,000.
149, and it's not just even the 8 p.m. hour. It's dragging down 9 p.m. with Sean Hannity and 10 p.m. It's a massive, massive problem.
So I got a question for you, though. I don't know if you have the experience in here. If I were to have bought an ad on Fox News and I was like, we want to run Monday at 8 p.m. and they went, you got it, and then they removed Tucker, I get my money back, right?
That's a good question. If you bought it specifically for Tucker, do you now get it? That's a good question. In fact, now that it's not called Tucker Carlson Tonight, that may be your way of getting it back, because now now it's Fox News Tonight or whatever they're calling it in the interim. Look, this is a disaster. I mean, obviously, Tucker leaving is one thing. Tucker is going to be fine. I mean, we've been kind of, everyone in the media is, if we're text and direct message, it's like the talk of what does Tucker Carlson do next. He will eventually do something next. He's obviously under contract right now. He can't even talk, but he will eventually do something next. But what happens with Fox? This is not the same as what happened, I would say, when Bill O'Reilly left or when other top stars left. Tucker Carlson is a singular voice and an incredibly important voice in this particular moment. And they lose that. And that is going to have a massive reverberations.
I just want to make sure we don't leave out our good friend Cuomo, who scored 26,000 viewers in the key demo. Holy crap. And then Cuomo, 11 p.m., get this,
8,000 in the demo, yeah.
8,000. Holy crap. He probably made a whole $20 off
Killing
that
it.
show.
That's over.
Dude, if I made a YouTube video that only got 8,000 views, I think it would make like $20. That's nuts to me. In total, to be fair, in total viewership, Cuomo got 156,000. And then Cuomo at 11 p.m. got 80,000. Oh, how the mighty have fallen, Cuomo, I guess. Whatever. But I think Tucker Carlson's probably gonna, he's going to launch his own network or something. You were saying that there was like some kind of rumor about why he got fired, because like he was hitting on well, not really, but
no,
Murdoch.
yeah, hold on. This is how rumors get started, man. This is not what he said. This is not what he said.
What did he say?
That Rupert Murdoch's well, actually, this is gossip. I couldn't even tell you. But basically, I'll let you tell the story.
Look, it has been reported. In fact, it was reported even before Monday, when this all shit hit the fan and Tucker was gone, that he had dinner with Rupert Murdoch, and Rupert is now ex-fiance, who apparently the reporting is that, from weeks ago. Again, this is not related to Tucker getting fired. The reporting is that the fiance was like obsessed with Tucker Carlson, called him like this gift from God. And the only reason Tucker Carlson is no longer on the air at Fox is because Rupert Murdoch soured on him for one reason or another. Who knows exactly what that reason is? But was that part of the tension in the relationship? Was the experience of Tucker himself and whether he's the gift from God or not? I don't know.
The Chad Tucker Carlson and the like soy jack Rupert Murdoch. There's gonna be a million different memes of this.
Yeah, so he decided to get rid of him, I guess. I wonder if it's also because it's not so much about the relationship. I mean, the dude's like 92 years old. But maybe that him hearing her say this, he's like, this man is becoming bigger than my own company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like, Fox News is me, not Tucker. No, we're getting rid of him.
And so, but that's such a bad solution, right? Instead of continuing to make money off of him, I'll just let him go make money without me.
It should have been.
You essentially let your ego kind of destroy the company. I mean, those are big shoes to fill. Who's going to step in and be able to fill that time slot and be able to bring the presence and the gravitas that Tucker brings?
Nobody. You know what? I think that they're going to try to,
Brian
in the long run. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's knocking it out of the park. Give him some time. I mean, I feel bad for anyone who gets put in that time slot. We were talking about this before the show.
Well, it's their own fault for taking it.
Yeah.
Dude, if I was like if I was contracted at Fox News, Hannity or Ingram or anybody, and they were like, "You're doing 8 p.m.," I'd be like, "Hell no, I'm not. Are you crazy?"
Especially not now. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's ragging on Brian Kilmeade. Nobody cared about Kilmeade before this, but now that he took Tucker's time slot, everybody's making fun of him.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, you get dead air. You get nothing at 8 p.m. because nobody wants to take that spot, because if Tucker was like, I'm leaving the network, people would be sad. But the fact that they unceremoniously removed him, and it may be because Murdoch was jealous, now it's mega cringe to try and take his time slot.
Well, I sort of wonder too if they're going to try to replace him with some kind of bad boy-esque figure, since Tucker was the anti-establishment guy, but someone who's still brand safe and doesn't push Fox in a direction that they're uncomfortable going in.
Who do they possibly have that could do that?
I don't know. Some young upstart that they find. Guys, if you want to find me, Rumble, I can. No, I'm totally kidding. I would never be allowed on Fox.
The whole executive office at Fox started busting out laughing.
I busted out laughing.
Like, look at this guy. Look at old Seamus here.
You cannot hire me. I don't apply. But I really do wonder what they're going to try to do, because obviously this guy's going to have to get taken out of the spot. He's not going to perform well.
But I wonder if there's another element that people are saying they're removing him right before the election kicks off, right? Trump's running. DeSantis is probably going to start running. They just changed that law in Florida, I think. What is it? The rain to run or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Where you have to resign. They got rid of that, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So yeah, it seems like DeSantis is going to run, and Tucker is a powerful voice propping up candidates like Trump or DeSantis. Now he is not there.
Right. Yeah, Tucker is, look, I've interviewed Tucker Carlson for about 7 or 8 times over the course of the last 15 years. I've known him since 2008. He is, in my book Uncovered, he talks to me about the fact that he was Hunter Biden's neighbor. I mean, this is a guy who was in the establishment in that way. The first chapter of the book is about Hunter Biden's laptop. Tucker tells me, I knew it was real from the minute I saw it, because I have emails with me and Hunter Biden talking about trying to get sober. Yeah. So he was in that world.
He was in the laptop.
He was in that world. He was in the laptop. Yes. In the world, in the laptop, a guy who knew the Biden family. I mean, he tells me in the book that he knew Biden has dementia because he's heard from Biden's family that he had dementia. This was before he ran. So this is a guy who was in that world and then became the turncoat in a lot of the same ways that Trump did in the New York media scene. And so you're not going to be able to find that. You're not going to be able to get the guy who knew what was going on in DC, who knows all the same people and can expose that, the left and the right. I mean, he goes after the right harder than anyone else on Fox. And if you're looking for a reason why you want a guy like that to not be on the air for the next year, which is like the length of his contract, there's your reason. I mean, he is someone who's a total differentiator from the establishment voice that's on the right or anywhere else.
And he's a threat to the entire establishment, left and right. He's done it in the segments on COVID, on military policy, on the expansion of government throughout the years. I mean, he's a guy that can sort of bring down the entire house, just like Donald Trump.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot about China, too, that the media generally doesn't want to go near.
Yeah. I mean, look, in the Dominion texts that came out, which were embarrassing for sure for Fox. I mean, obviously they settled the Dominion lawsuit. The texts come out. He's really rough on Trump. I mean, he's calling him like this evil guy, essentially. And this was the post-election period, and these all come out. You would think, oh, that should be embarrassing. And then 2 weeks ago, he's sitting down with Trump for an hour-long interview in Mar-a-Lago and praising him in some ways and pushing him in other ways. But this is a guy who can do both those things. He can be critical. He has the credibility. Trump, it will go. I mean, he was just interviewed about it. What do you think about Tucker losing his job? He's sitting there praising him. This is a guy who's calling him essentially evil in these text messages that are coming out in the wake of the 2020 election. So you lose something massive by not having a voice like that, a guy who it really cannot be replaced. I mean, the legacy media industry is every single day, even if they were doing everything right, less and less people are watching traditional TV, less and less people are finding that. So when you're not going to maximize the time you have left by getting someone who is a star, a bona fide star, and you take them off the air, you're really just, it's the end of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a few moments ago, around the start of this show, Tucker Carlson posted a video on Twitter that says, "Good evening. I have no idea what he's going to say, so I hope we don't get banned." Here's what he said.
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson. One of the first things you realize when you step outside the noise for a few days is how many genuinely nice people there are in this country. Kind and decent people, people who really care about what's true, and a bunch of hilarious people also, a lot of those. It's got to be the majority of the population, even now. So that's heartening. The other thing you notice when you take a little time off is how unbelievably stupid most of the debates you see on television are. They're completely irrelevant. They mean nothing. In 5 years, we won't even remember that we had them. Trust me, as someone who's participated. And yet at the same time, and this is the amazing thing, the undeniably big topics, the ones that will define our future, get virtually no discussion at all. War, civil liberties, emerging science, demographic change, corporate power, natural resources. When was the last time you heard a legitimate debate about any of those issues? It's been a long time. Debates like that are not permitted in American media. Both political parties and their donors have reached consensus on what benefits them, and they actively collude to shut down any conversation about it. Suddenly, the United States looks very much like a one-party state. That's a depressing realization, but it's not permanent. Our current orthodoxies won't last. They're brain dead. Nobody actually believes them. Hardly anyone's life is improved by them. This moment is too inherently ridiculous to continue, and so it won't. The people in charge know this. That's why they're hysterical and aggressive. They're afraid. They've given up persuasion. They're resorting to force. But it won't work. When honest people say what's true, calmly and without embarrassment, they become powerful. At the same time, the liars who've been trying to silence them shrink, and they become weaker. That's the iron law of the universe. True things prevail. Where can you still find Americans saying true things? There aren't many places left, but there are some, and that's enough. As long as you can hear the words, there is hope. See you soon.
And he was talking about us. That was all about Timcast IRL. Yeah, where can you find the truth? It's right here.
Was he in a sauna? I bet you had his on.
That's his studio, I'm pretty sure. I think it's in Maine or something like that. So that was awesome to hear from him. He's right about all of that. And it's really amazing to see that he's become this like populist. You know, there's that viral meme we played last night where it shows him in the political compass for authoritarian right. And he's like, the more that they have you talking about race, the less time is spent asking about class. Why rich people? And then it shows him like shifting to the left and starts playing this communist anthem. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think, man? It was fairly vague. I know that he can't say a whole lot because he's going through that contract stuff.
I mean, I think it's pretty it's pretty on brand for how he's been for the last God knows how many years. I mean, it's classic Tucker without the high pitched laughter. But I mean, I think it's again, maybe he's just sort of trying to flex a little bit and show that he's going to be fine and be able to operate on his own without having to go to a network. I mean, who's going to write?
Good evening, it's Tucker Carlson.
It just started automatically playing again.
Like who's going to write him a check? Who can afford to pay him? I mean, is Boring going to offer him $500 million to come over to Daily Wire? Like his best move is to sort of do his thing, and I think we'll probably see more content coming out just independently from him because he's able to do it. And like you said earlier, he built Daily Caller, and he's perfectly capable of building another network and being his own man and not having to be a slave to anybody affiliated with the establishment.
Does he still own the Daily Caller or something?
He sold out. I believe.
Shares, last year?
Recently, pretty recently. No, I mean, well, first of all, this is just like the quintessential Tucker Carlson, right? It's 8 p.m. when his show starts, when Brian Kilmeade is filling in for him and no one's watching. And he drops this on Twitter and gets everyone talking about it.
That's awesome.
So he's already got almost more viewers than Kilmeade. He's got 107,000 views on this one video he just posted. I mean, that's the thing about the internet versus TV anyway. You get more views on a snippet little video. He could put up a video on TikTok and get more views.
Yeah, absolutely. Tucker, and that's what I think his next move is. He's going to start doing TikTok dances and stuff.
All right.
So it's about,
Yeah, that's what we've all wanted to see is
hope for.
Yeah, he's already got 242,400 views.
Oh my god.
On this video. And I'm assuming it's Twitter, so it's mostly key demo.
Right.
And Brian Kilmeade only got 149. I feel bad for Kilmeade, man. I got no beef, but like, what are you doing?
But this is also like the shift, right? I mean, yes, traditional ratings. There's not exactly apples to apples with views on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. But that is a very, very small number. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that 3 million number at Fox was 5 million. We're talking about 5 years ago. I mean, it was just the way the audience is shifting is happening. But yeah, look, Tucker started Daily Caller in between his time at MSNBC, which is, kind of funny to think. He was a host on MSNBC. He gave Rachel Maddow her start. I mean, this is a guy who has had a very fascinating career. Starts Daily Caller. I remember I interviewed him in 2010. He had bought KeithOlbermann.com. He found out that KeithOlbermann.com was available for sale. And so he buys it. He gets the email address keith@keitholbermann.com. And just to fuck with Keith, he starts emailing people as if he's Keith Olbermann to start scaring people. I interviewed him about it, and he's just talking about how he's the most hated man in the building. I mean, Keith's still at MSNBC. So he just uses it. He's funny, he's smart, he's different. And look, I mean, apparently now he's free to at least drop some videos every now and then.
Did you hear this thing about this woman accusing of sexism?
Yeah,
his old booker said that he and others destroyed her. We have this story from the Post Millennial. I saw this on Twitter. Ex-producer suing Tucker Carlson has never even met him. What the? How do they hire these people?
Yeah.
Like, does Fox have like a vetting process where they're just like, right this way, sir, and walk through the door, and that's it? They're like, do you agree with us? We don't know. Okay, well, come on in.
This person has apparently, according to her interview with MSNBC yesterday, has 90 tapes. I mean, has spent her entire career apparently at Fox just recording people, ready to drop this. Yes, never met Tucker Carlson. Really has no real beef with Tucker personally, as trying to make it about Tucker's staff and the culture that he's started there. I think she, potentially has him on tape saying some things that are, sexist or whatever she wants to try to portray there. She also
I don't buy it.
No. Of course.
Did you see those? They're saying they got secret recordings of Ted Cruz.
Oh yeah, I think from her
saying
what?
And Ted Cruz, he's saying something. Yeah, probably he's talking to Maria Bartiromo, and he says something to the effect of, if there's gonna be some kind of challenge to the election, then you've got to have an actual sanctioned commission that reviews the evidence, and then if the evidence is there, you present it. That's what he says. And the left is like, he's trying to overthrow the election. It's like, it sounds like Ted Cruz is trying to stop them from doing it, being like, no. You got to go through the formal process and get a commission set up before you can do any of this. And they're using Ted Cruz resisting this stuff as evidence he was in favor of it.
Yeah, honestly, just to stick with Tucker for a second, the person who was the strongest against the election fraud stuff on the air at Fox was Tucker Carlson.
Right.
I mean, he did a 15-minute monologue that was really powerful, that just completely obliterated Sidney Powell. Why won't Sidney Powell come on my show and talk about this? I'll give her the whole night. I'll give her the whole week. She won't come on. We've asked for evidence. She won't show it. We're telling you this because it's true. I mean, that's the kind of person he was. And separate from that, just the entire, we're still seeing this now. It's 3 years later. Everything that can be part of what I would call the Trump addiction in the corporate media, which I think all of this election stuff is. They're going to try to make the story of Ted Cruz's comment that's like the most Ted Cruz thing possible. I mean, it's just like this lawyer who's talking about,
you got to have a commission.
He's trying
to steal insurrectionist.
He's literally describing a process. Like, he wants to take over the government. Okay.
He's demanding hard evidence and a formal hearing to look at the evidence. Yeah. And their immediate response is, it was a coup attempt.
Yep. Right. But this is why people don't trust the corporate media. I mean, it's honestly, I write about this a lot in Uncovered. It's like there starts with the seed of something, whether it's, the Steele dossier, Russiagate, the media covers something in a specific way. I call it glance journalism. Like you get it at the glance, an initial story, and then they just move on to the next thing. And they never go back and start to correct it. They're so addicted to Trump and to anything that's kind of the ancillary, the January 6th or the election fraud stuff, so addicted to it. And the average American, left, right, or center, is not in that same mindset. I mean, they are not just completely addicted in the way that these media people are. I've talked to people that could not sleep, that had to take pills because they were just so overcome with this feeling that they're in this existential fight with Donald Trump during the Trump presidency. And it made them completely put the guardrails of journalism out when they tried to take him down. And it was so obvious to the audience. And to this day, I mean, they have not learned a single lesson.
No, I think they were driven insane.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was Trump. I think it was social media algorithms, because there's no real reason to be so mad at Trump.
Yeah.
Like any reasonable person who's like, man, like if you were looking at Trump and you genuinely didn't like him because you didn't like his policies or his attitude, you wouldn't be screaming that he was Hitler. You'd just be like, I don't like this guy.
Right.
Yes.
But they got driven to the extreme end because the internet was screaming as loud as possible in their faces.
Exactly. So, for example, with somebody like Joe Biden, I mean, I detest absolutely everything the man stands for. I don't have to take sleeping pills because he's the president. It's insane to have such a small, petty outlook on life. My goal is to go after this person and take them down. For some bizarre reason, they saw him as the embodiment of every principle that they hated, despite the fact that he was basically a New York Democrat in many ways, at least with respect to his economic policy decision-making. He was more socially conservative, but even there, he was like somewhere between center-right and centrist. This was not some far-right political leader. No. And even if he was, you know, on the actual right by American standards or far-right or however they would have defined it, to not be able to sleep over the guy, you're out of your mind.
Let's talk about some presidential prospects. From the Post-Millennial, we have this story. Greg Gutfeld jokes Tucker Carlson will run for president after leaving Fox News. Granted, he's joking. He said in 2024 it will be Susan Rice versus Tucker Carlson. And then you can see that Post-Millennial's got some what is that, CSS code or something? That's just, I'm going to highlight that so that Libby sees it and goes, God, crap.
Libby, what are you doing?
The Gutfeld host made the comments while appearing on Fox News, The Five, alongside other Fox personalities. The panelists then brought up Democrat Susan Rice, President Biden's White House domestic policy advisor, who announced she would be departing from her post on Monday, which had the Fox News personalities predicting she would be a contender in the 2024 election. So he's kind of joking, but kind of not. And I'm wondering now, so the conversation is Trump Carlson 2024? But then there was a question. I don't know if it was you were asking it, Adrian DeSantis, Carlson, maybe.
That'd be a ticket.
Now, here's the thing: if the Republican primary is between DeSantis, Carlson, and Trump, I'm a happy man, right? If these are the kinds of candidates we're getting, because look at what it was back in 2016, right? Trump was the only person who had politics that were remotely interesting, besides, I guess, Ron Paul.
We were very, very close to fixing the system and getting everything done right. With Jeb.
Exactly, Jeb. But you look, I mean,
you knew where I was going before I said it.
All we have had for years and years, decades, are these boring establishment candidates who just want to go along with whatever.
But we got that meme of Jeb with the entire map turning yellow.
I don't disagree that we should have picked Jeb, but we missed our opportunity. But it's to be real, Jeb is the one that got away. There's no getting Jeb back. Yeah, he's gone. He's out of our life.
I thought where you were going with that was being serious about it, because honestly, we almost got Trump versus Bernie in 2020.
Oh, right.
And
yeah, seriously.
I mean, I like it's still amazing to me that we didn't get Bernie. Bernie was clearly the front runner.
Bernie was leading the charge against the Democrat establishment, and then got to the DNC, stopped, turned around, and said, "You are all trespassing, and you must leave." So it was like he let everyone there, and then just immediately joined with Hillary. And then he was like, "If you want to be a millionaire, you write a book."
Right. Well, but that's 2016.
Yes.
In 2020, he was. I mean, they went to Nevada, and I read about this Uncovered. MSNBC, Joy Reid, people like that went after Bernie Sanders, Chris Matthews, when he was still back on the air before he got Me Too'd, they went completely all in on Joe Biden because they needed to stop him in the same way that Mayor Pete and Amy Klobuchar dropped out
and then endorsed Biden.
Right before Super Tuesday. I mean, these people were contenders. I mean, not huge contenders, but they all galvanized in the same way the politics did, the media did.
This is the best thing. Hear this, my friends. So Buttigieg drops out of the race, endorses Joe Biden. Why? It's obvious. They were siphoning away votes. They were breaking the moderate vote, and Bernie was then taking the lead. If Klobuchar, Buttigieg, if they drop out and endorse Biden, Biden gets a big bump, beats Bernie Sanders. Likely what happens is that Joe Biden goes to them and says, "I will make you a deal. Pete, you drop out, we got a job for you." He says, "Okay, you got it. How about something cushy, a do-nothing job like transportation secretary?"
You don't have to pay attention to
anything
there.
Do it. What are you going to do? What is it? And Pete's like, "So you're saying I don't have to do any work?" It's like, what's the job? You look at a screen and some trucks driving by, you don't got to do anything. Nobody pays attention. When's the last time you saw a transportation secretary on TV? And now look where we are. But for real, that's probably what happened.
Oh, yeah.
So he drops out. They're like, the job is yours. And then a train blows up and he's like, not there.
Well, I thought this was supposed to be an easy job. What's going on here?
I also think this is not necessarily an original insight. Other people have said this. This is something Dave Smith has said before too. But there is something to be said about the fact that the way Bernie treated the people he was running against didn't really match his rhetoric about the fact that they were screwing the working class, right? Trump's treatment of other political leaders matches his rhetoric on how he feels about political leaders. He's not nice to them. And then Bernie Sanders gets on stage. He's like, oh, well, of course, I love these people. They are my best friends. And it's like, okay, well, you're not exactly selling to people that you genuinely want to fight them. But also, what did Bernie do? He endorsed Hillary, and then he endorsed Joe Biden. So they knew they could take it from him. Donald Trump wasn't going to endorse any other Republican if he didn't get the
Right,
nomination.
I know.
So
He
they
won't
knew
this
they
time,
had
yeah.
to give it to him.
The way I like to describe it is there's this big ivory tower, and Bernie comes from the left up the hill with a bunch of angry, leftists, and then Trump comes up on the right with a bunch of angry right-wingers. And then they're both standing on each side, and the elites are looking down like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And then Bernie is like, I am humbly asking that you open the door. And then they're like, okay, and they let Bernie in. Knock. And then Bernie's like, I'm going to go inside real quick and work something out with them. And then next thing you know, Bernie's sticking his head out the window being like, get out of here. Get out. But then Trump kicks the door in and just starts rampaging through the halls like a bull.
It's an insurrection.
And they're freaking out. And they're like, it's insurrection. Oh, help us.
And then Tucker Carlson releases the security camera footage of what happened after they broke down the door of the castle.
And then Bernie's running away with them.
Yeah.
It's like the Bernie becoming a millionaire is the perfect example of what's wrong with Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
When he has what, 4 houses? Three houses?
Like that.
Yeah. What was his recent book? His book was like, Why It's Wrong to Be a Millionaire, or something like that. It's like...
He stopped saying millionaires when he
billionaire,
became
yeah.
one.
Right.
Yeah,
He would say
exactly.
the millionaires and the billionaires. Then he became a millionaire and he stopped saying it. And I'm like, Bernie, you don't have to stop saying it because you're rich. There are people with $999 million.
Right.
You can make that point, but he's a grifter.
Yeah.
So that was it. Talk about a letdown.
Well, and he said, look, when you write a best-selling book, you can be a millionaire too. As if the publishing industry doesn't follow the same mechanisms that socialists criticize in other industries. Like, well, what about the logger who cut down the trees that were then turned into the paper, Bernie? And what about the people operating the printing press? Like, why don't they all get an equal share in the profits of your book?
The World
Why is it
Socialist
just you?
website called Bernie Sanders a nationalist capitalist. No joke.
What is it?
The World Socialist website called Bernie Sanders
Oh,
a nationalist capitalist.
Wow.
Because he's in favor of capitalist structures, even though he's far left, he still is talking about capitalist structures, and he wants to secure the borders so that he can protect workers. He had a quote at a rally where he said, "We can't have open borders. My God, the people, they would all just flood in." Right. And then they were like, "How dare you, you nationalist capitalist?"
Didn't he call it a Koch brothers scheme?
In
Having open borders?
2015.
Yeah.
He said open borders is a Koch brothers proposal to get cheap labor.
I mean, it's amazing to me how Democrats claim they're in favor of unions. They know that a scab entering into a workplace when they're not a member of a union could drive wages down. But when you place that or abstract that onto a national scale, they're unwilling to recognize that that's true. Well, wait a minute. What about like the literal union that we call like the United States of America? Don't you think someone entering into our union who isn't playing by the same rules and isn't becoming a registered member, taking jobs, might lower average wages for the people who are already in the country? But for whatever reason, the principle stops operating there.
Yeah, that's why immigration honestly was the biggest issue, cross party for Donald Trump, I think. But honestly, like I hate to go back to Tucker again, but another thing he said, it's like even Trump gets in there, and yes, he was totally anti-establishment, anti-elite. That's what got him in. But Tucker told me for the book that he gets in there and he puts Steve Mnuchin in Treasury, or a lot of the people that he put in these positions, a lot of the things that he said, and this is some of the things that Tucker has been critical of Trump about more recently, is when he actually got in there, you drain the swamp, all that. And yes, he said the right things, but ultimately, how did he govern? There's still some criticism there. And I think like a candidate who really wants to go after Trump from the right, like a DeSantis, I don't know if he's got it in him, would be to say, well, you got in there, COVID, whatever else, border. Did you actually do what you said you were going to do and break up the actual, elite establishment that you claim to be doing?
Somewhat, but only a little bit, and not enough.
Right.
Not enough, but enough to where I'm looking forward to Trump getting revenge with Schedule F.
Yeah.
And I think what really makes this work is if Trump just had his term and then lost, and there was no Russiagate and there was no impeachment and all that stuff, I wouldn't know if I'd be so enthused. I'd be like, well, we had Trump, like maybe DeSantis is going to work out. I don't know. But the fact that they've gone after Trump so heavy-handedly, the fact that they're trying to indict him in 3 different jurisdictions, I'm like, okay. So now we're going to get that equal and opposite reaction that I'm excited about. They came at Trump super hard, and he's ready to come back, Schedule F, lockdown, Take it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
I mean, the Hunter Biden laptop story, just like the icing on the cake of the Trump, presidency. I mean, the way that the media, in collusion with tech companies, in collusion with the FBI, as we now know, thanks to the Twitter files, locked down that story. And the fact that it has become so obvious that it was true. I mean, it was true when it actually was being written, but the way the media covered it, and then what we now know, has just made that just so clear to everyone that if that moved a few thousand votes, a couple, 30,000 votes, that would have made an enormous difference in the election. And the fact that they did that will stick with people, I think. And that, it's a media story, but it's a politics story.
Yeah, there was a poll done on that as well.
Yeah.
A very large percentage of Biden voters had absolutely no idea about the Hunter Biden story. Right. And about 10% of people who voted for Biden who were surveyed said if they had known about the Hunter Biden laptop story, they would not have voted for Joe.
Yeah, I think it was like 16%, but that was enough to have swung the election depending on where those voters were.
But let's talk about the latest revelation. So this is huge news. There's a letter released by Jim Jordan showing that, what's his name? Michael Morell, is that his name? Yeah. Former CIA director, outright said that he told people the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation because he wanted to help Joe Biden win.
Right. At the direction of Tony Blinken, who's now the Secretary of State.
And I think he talked to Biden too, didn't he?
Yeah. I think Biden was involved, but it was through the intermediary of Tony Blinken, who only, of course, talk about people like Mayor Pete getting promoted. Tony Blinken, of course, now in a very prime position there as Secretary of State. And this story does not get covered very, very much in the corporate media these days. I mean, this came out in a House Judiciary panel. Mike Morell, not a partisan guy at all, but just is asked to tell what happened here.
No, he is. I mean, he said he wanted Biden to win.
Mike Morell, well, yes, but not. He was doing the bidding of Tony Blinken, a trustworthy person. Let's just say that. I mean, this is not someone who's like trying to right. I mean, to your point, a guy from the left is essentially admitting to what he was doing. That story, I mean, again, a companion to the Hunter Biden Hunter Biden laptop lack of coverage was that story, which the way that, yes, CNNs of the world, and I've talked to a lot of people at CNN about this. Okay, you didn't say it was Russian disinformation, but you put that letter out there with people.
They said it was 50
all the
former agents
of Russian, and those people who you pay in many instances, people like Clapper and Brennan, are getting paychecks from MSNBC and CNN. They're the ones who are telling you, look, looks like Russian disinformation to us. We're the experts. Experts again.
Take a look at this. We got this story from the Examiner. It says Morell, who testified to Congress earlier this month about the laptop letter, said he thought now Secretary of State Antony Blinken wanted the baseless claims of Russian involvement in the saga made public. The former Obama acting CIA director told House investigators that before his October 17th call with Blinken, he had no intention to write the October 19th Hunter Biden laptop letter, and testified yes and absolutely when asked if the call with Blinken, who was the top advisor for Biden's 2020 campaign, was what triggered that intent in you. Morell also said in a recent transcribed interview with congressional investigators that it was his guess that Blinken called him to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop because the future Secretary of State wanted it out in the public that the Russians were somehow involved in the saga. He also testified that one of the two reasons he helped put the letter together was to help now President Joe Biden, quote, because I wanted him to win the election. Hey, how about that? What a time to be alive, huh?
Insane. And no punishment for blatant election interference. But, a question that I have is these guys weaponize this entire process to win the 2020 election, right? You got a bunch of former intel guys partnered with social media, engaging in this clear manipulation of multiple systems just to get their guy in. They were able to, even if you don't want to discuss the issue of election fraud, they were able to weaponize this system enough to be able to prevent Trump from getting reelected when he wielded the full power of the executive branch of the United States government. What has changed? And let me add one other point in here, too. We have numerous states like Pennsylvania that change election laws in the run-up to the election to give Democrats an advantage and prevent Trump from getting in. None of this stuff
Republicans were involved in that.
Right. So what has changed since 2020 that this deep state apparatus would allow him back in now when they've already weaponized the system to prevent him from getting in 2020?
Yeah.
Like, what's the play?
I don't know if I would phrase it as prevent him. I think what they're trying to do is slant things as heavily as possible in their favor. And that, I think, is the game. And I think Republicans need to pay attention to that. They spent too long coming out screaming fraud, 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 instead of screaming, how are they getting these ballots? How are they doing it? And then just doing the same thing. Ballot chasing, harvesting. Now Trump is coming out and being like, we're going to do the same thing. Now you're hearing Republicans come out and say, okay, we figured it out. We're going to play the game they're playing. Now I think these advantages may be lost. Because if Republicans actually start playing the same game, it's going to slowly balance out. Though universal mail-in voting greatly advantages Democrats in dense populated areas. And it's very hard for people in rural areas to get the word out and things like that. But I think Republicans can now, understanding what happened in the past 2 elections, start utilizing that properly. So we'll see. I don't want to be black-pilled on this one.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, the last 2 elections, because that clearly was a factor in 2022 also in the midterms.
Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that they hadn't made those adjustments at that point was a clear thing. But I honestly think, going back to something you said earlier about the social media incentives, what was the real story about this? I mean, why did so many in the media not cover this? When I went back and started looking for the book about why was the press covered that, why did they cover it this way? There were people like Maggie Haberman at the New York Times who linked to the New York Post, just said, I question the sourcing of it. I don't know, this seems a little shady. And she got trending on Twitter as MAGA Haberman because she linked to the New York Post, even because she was, and so Jake Sherman, who's now at Punchbowl, he was at Politico at the time.
MAGA Haberman.
Yeah, he tweets it also. I wonder if the Biden campaign will respond to this. He gets pilloried by people, is forced to delete it, and apologizes for daring to link to the New York Post. So there's such a guilt
Cult.
that happens. Yeah. And there's no backbone by a lot of these journalists. And if they get a bunch of people yelling at them on Twitter, they're going to just do what the mob says. And so that's not changing either. That's only getting worse, I think, in this new era.
Yeah.
I think Republicans are starting to wake up, and just some people I've talked to sort of behind the scenes, there's this realization that, we have to do more than we've done in the past to win elections. We got to do the ballot harvesting, but in general, we have to sort of build out just a bigger ground game, because Democrats have $1 billion machine that's been in place for decades. Republicans don't have that. Republicans have a system where the donor class sort of gives money to the RNC, who doles it out how they see fit, where on the Democrat side, they have all these organizations that have been built out at the grassroots level. These billionaire donors give to those organizations, and the party is a little bit further down the list. So there's a whole machine apparatus that needs to be built on the right. But it seems like people are more inclined to actually do the work right now and want to build those things out. Scott Pressler is a guy who's running across the country right now trying to register voters, trying to spread the word about ballot harvesting and do what he can to build those systems out. And I think as far as what I'm seeing, even just this week, Charlie Kirk posted about this. There's more of a focus now on doing the work that's needed to build out those systems to try to give Trump the best chance, or whoever is the nominee, most likely Trump, but whatever Republican candidate is the best chance to win the election next year.
But here's the plan. We need to use their platform against them. The strategies they've used against us, we're going to use against them. So when they say vote blue no matter who, here's the pitch. Donald Trump runs as a Democrat. We all then vote for him in the primary, and now they have to vote for him.
They literally have no
Boom.
choice.
Checkmate, Democrats.
It's beautiful.
That's right. It's going to be like, I'm sorry, vote blue no matter who. And they're like, but Donald Trump, those are your rules. And then they're going to have to press the button for Trump. Oh, and that's how he wins. But it is funny that they say vote blue no matter who, because it clearly shows that you could put literally anything in the office. They don't care as long as they're hurting you. That's crazy.
When was the last time Fetterman was seen?
Recently. I mean, it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really sad.
Tried to read a statement.
Legitimately sad. Yeah, he's talking really weird. He's struggling to form words. He clearly can't understand the responses he's getting, and then he just ignores them.
Right.
He'll like ask a question. He'll be like, "Can you explain to me why and if Biden is president?" And then they say something, and he goes, "Now, have you seen?" And it's like, well, are you going to answer the first thing they said?
Right.
Like, he just didn't happen, I guess.
Yeah, and that's with someone literally running around next to him with a screen in front of him that has the words, the closed captioning happening, and still is not really comprehending. No, but
I'll take whatever they can get as long as not a Republican.
Yeah, well, you got Biden now too, right? Running again, and it's like, really? Are we doing this? I mean, this is...
It's hilarious, dude. I don't think Biden can win. I don't know. I will be laughing come 2024 when I find out I'm wrong or whatever. But Biden had the COVID lockdown advantage.
Right.
He didn't do anything or go anywhere. Now they're saying there's going to be no debates. Have you guys heard this?
Yeah.
No debates at all. None.
On either side.
On either side. It's none. This is crazy. But whatever, I guess.
Trump's going to try to get out of him. But I mean, there's got to be RNC debates. You know, he obviously is a former president, but he's not the incumbent. So they've got to do RNC debates, and whether he's there or not. DNC, I could, if you really have a field that's Joe Biden, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Marianne Williamson, I could see them really just saying, yeah, you know, you're on your own. You know, it's going to be Biden here. Although, again, I don't know how you galvanize behind a person that you have.
I got it.
Yeah.
Here's what we'll do. We will host the Democratic debates here at Timcast IRL.
Right here.
But what likely will happen is Biden won't come. But guess what? I am willing to bet RFK Jr. will.
Yeah.
And so would Marianne Williamson.
For sure. Yeah.
And if we're like, look, we'll do a legit, we'll get a forum, we'll rent a building, we'll get an actual theater, we'll have anyone who wants to run. And the interesting thing is, these are prominent figures, RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson. But I wonder if any other establishment Democrat who wants to run would actually come.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't who else is running? What's his face? The man, I don't know.
On the Democratic side?
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if there's anyone else. Have you interviewed RFK?
Yeah. Yes. Here we go. Hutchinson.
He's at the GOP.
Oh, it's GOP.
Yeah, Asa Hutchinson. Yeah.
Oh, whoops! I'm an idiot.
No, he's running
he's running as a Republican.
He's establishment enough that he.
Right, I know. I was just like, he's one of those guys, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a pretty never Trumper. And so he fits that mold.
You see how I got confused?
Yes, if you're spending all your days in like cable news green rooms, then you're basically a Democrat at this point,
right?
Which is what Asa Hutchinson.
So is it just RFK Jr. then and Marianne Williamson?
I think so far.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we've reached out to RFK Jr.'s team. And
he'd be a great. I mean, he's a fascinating guy. Super smart. We've at the Megyn Kelly show, we've interviewed him a couple times, and had to keep an eye out to make sure we could keep it all live on YouTube and all platforms.
We will do the Democratic debates live on Rumble with Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. And if Joe Biden will be invited,
right?
We'll say, hey man, just let us know what you need. You're invited, absolutely. We'll have anything you need to make this debate happen. And then when he says no, he just won't be at the debates,
right?
So there you go.
Podium, just like any other. I think I'd watch that.
And I think Marianne Williamson and RFK Jr. would have like a legitimate debate. When they had her on, there was so much screwing around. What was it like? Andrew Yang's mic got cut off.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And he's just going like, mouthing and like nothing's happening. I explained that if it was Donald Trump and they cut his mic, he would lean over and grab the other person's mic and go, excuse me, my microphone is off. That's Trump. That's why Trump wins. Mm-hmm. Because Trump would not let them silence him, and there's nothing they can do if he's like steps out of line and says, no, I'm talking.
Well, that's the thing. He's polite to people, or he's not polite to people who aren't being polite to him. And so often that's what the establishment depends upon. They crap all over everyone who's an outsider and tries to stand up to them. And then they go, oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll go along with it. And we saw this with Republicans time and time again. You're racist, you're sexist, you're homophobic, you're terrible. Or they would just ask them questions where that was the subtext. And they'd go, I just want to be very sensitive to your concern. And I want you to know I really do care about you and your values. And Trump would be like, you're an idiot, shut up. It's like, great. That's kind of what they deserve.
Well, Trump's not mean to people who aren't mean to him.
No, that's what I'm saying.
In fact, no. When it came to the bump stock ban, when they go to Trump and they say, let's work together, he goes, okay. And then he agrees with them. If the Democrats went to Trump and they said, you're so smart, your policies are amazing, we think you're going to be the best, here's what you need to do, he'll go, absolutely, I agree, and he would sign it.
In fact, he actually said in the interview with Tucker recently, he was talking about how Gavin Newsom was so nice to him. And the real story is there, Gavin Newsom understood how to play Trump.
Yep.
You be nice to him, you ask for things, and he'll give it to you. And he did. Here's what I need for California. Okay, sure. You flatter him. I mean, you play the game a little bit. But honestly, like I was just going back and watching some of those primary debates with Trump in 2015, 2016.
Masterful.
I mean, it was so great television, and also honestly gets to the point of why the media became what they became, because they were all in on it. CNN and MSNBC, they would put him on all the time. He was on Morning Joe and calling in from the bathroom. He was on, Don Lemon all the time. He was talking to everybody, and they did it because they would love to have him be the nominee, and then they knew he would lose to Hillary, and so they're like, all right, great, let's ride this. It's great ratings. And then they get that shock on November 8th, and they don't know how to deal with it. But in that moment, they were all good for the TV.
I guess Zucker felt personally responsible at CNN.
Yeah.
So he was offended because or ashamed, because there were people being like, they would come to him and say, why did you give him all this airtime? And he was like, we were making money. And so then he made it his mission to just destroy Trump in the press.
Right.
Yeah, and it's hilarious because all they did was expose themselves as biased, destroyed whatever remaining credibility they had, and made people who already like Trump like him a whole lot more.
Yep.
Now, what I find so hilarious about the entire situation is that you're correct that people who flattered Trump seem to get ahead in some sense, and the left could have very easily played him in that way, but because their TDS was so strong, it was like this perfect storm where this weakness of his couldn't really be exploited by them because they were too deranged. They were too histrionic over it, and they were freaking out and screaming, "Ah, it's Donald Trump!" It's like if you were just as dishonest as you always are and tried to flatter him, you might have been able to get some of the things done that you wanted to get done, but you're not capable.
And I say one other thing about Jeff Zucker, because that's what makes it so unique about Donald Trump. I mean, Jeff Zucker and Donald Trump go way back. You know, Donald Trump made Jeff Zucker at NBC because of The Apprentice. It was a huge hit. Jeff Zucker had no hits before that when he ran NBC. Jeff Zucker was one of the many media members who were at Donald Trump's wedding to Melania in 2005. Wow. Katie Couric was there, Matt Lauer, Barbara Walters. You go right on down the line. Elton John performed. I mean, he was part of that world for so long. I mean, he was hosting Saturday Night Live in 2015. He was in that world. He was hosting the Celebrity Apprentice in 2015, and he left and gave Arnold Schwarzenegger a chance to do it right before he announced for running for president. And then to become the turncoat. You know, these people thought they knew him. They thought he was their friend. He was part of that world, and then he turned on him. And that I think it became so personal for so many of those people.
Man, let's jump to a news story. We got this one. You guys, I know you guys want to talk about Bud Light. We got a former Anheuser-Busch executive slamming inauthentic Bud Light for having lost track of the consumer. There's a bunch of developments. For one, their restaurant volume has declined, has dropped 34.7%. We're hearing that various different sales metrics show a drop of like 17% in general sales. Volume is decreased in double digits. And here's my favorite latest development on the Bud Light boycott story. It is, first, I'd like to bring you all back in time to April 13th for this CNN article. Bud Light's inclusive ad campaigns are good for business, experts say. Experts say. Then we get this masterpiece. Bud Light sales are falling, but distributors say they're sticking by the brand.
Shot and chaser,
13
baby.
days late, shot and chaser. You'll love to see it.
I love to see
Guys,
it.
Screenshot those two. I should actually just do this right now.
I'm the first one, a Jim Cramer byline.
Yeah, right. Jim Cramer, buy Bud Light. This is hilarious. So they'll make statements like this. Inclusive ad campaigns are good for consumers. Okay, this is circular. Yes, if an ad campaign is truly inclusive, as in it is maximally appealing to the largest base possible, then yes, it's going to be an effective ad campaign. Clearly, Bud Light's ad campaign was not inclusive.
Right.
It was not inclusive because they alienated their own viewers. So let me give you an example. Name an incredibly controversial group of people. I don't want to be like lazy and say
The Irish.
The Irish. No, name a group of people generally. Let's say
Antifa.
Antifa. Okay. So if a marketing, but part of why this might break down is because you could almost actually see this happening. But if a marketing firm said, you know what, we're going to be really inclusive, we're going to include Antifa in our next advertisement, you go, well, hold on a second. Okay. By including them, you're excluding everyone who takes issue with them. So inclusive doesn't mean welcoming a new group, right? It means, how are we going to get the most possible people to be loyal to our brand?
And here's an important distinction as it pertains to, say, political ideology. There's a big divide in this country, and it's roughly down the middle in terms of politics. Mm-hmm. So you risk alienating half the population by choosing, so you stay away from it. Right? Yeah. But then you can make the argument about when it comes to race. Well, there's millions, hundreds of millions, tens of millions of people of varying different racial backgrounds, and a tiny bit of racists. So you know what? If we want to maximize our total market share, we go for a literal inclusive strategy, which is apolitical and just says everybody's chill to have our beer. Instead, they go directly for the most polarizing and divisive and like nails on a chalkboard personality, and then just gut their brand.
Exactly.
They didn't make it inclusive. They made it as exclusive as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Let's push everyone out outside of our small group of people who feel a need to virtue signal to one another that we think this is a beautiful woman. Definitely. That's what we're looking at here. Woman and beautiful.
So sloppy. So I forgot who it was, because I'd love to give him credit. It was on Twitter. Someone basically came up with, you want to appeal to the trans community. Okay, here's an idea, right? Okay, you're a Bud Light factory, and you've got a person there. They are a factory worker, and they're trans, or a little bit scared to come to work, and they get there, and their friends welcome them in. Okay, well, now you've done an ad that's not alienating. It's maybe welcome to, but they went in the most clunky, embarrassing way possible, and yet talk about the language. Experts say. I mean, literally.
I know.
Anytime a headline has experts say, just distrust it. Honestly, at this point.
Experts say is the blue check mark of news articles. But I will mention this. I actually think even an advertisement like that wouldn't work for Bud Light, because the consumers would go, this is obvious virtue signaling. They're trying to be a woke brand. And that's not who Bud Light is generally marketed itself towards. That's not who buys Bud Light.
But that's the craziest thing about this leftist ideology, is that they're willing to burn the entire house down just for the sake of their ideology and looking like they're doing the right thing and I don't know, I guess showing off for their friends.
That's why I say it's not really an ideology. It's a cult. It's a chaotic, destructive force that has no end game. Maybe the end game is destroying the country. Maybe they're being wielded by evil people to destroy things, but that's all they do. Consume and destroy.
We talk about a person who bought into the cult. I mean, part of the problem with the Bud Light thing was the also podcast with the VP of marketing explaining why the brand that she is a part of is bad, essentially.
Yes.
Is why it's too fratty and we have to change it. That's your problem. When you pair that with the Dylan Mulvaney video, which was, again, I mean, who is buying Bud Light because of that? Are Dylan Mulvaney's fans buying Bud Light because of that? I can't even imagine that anyone thought this was a good idea.
Oh my gosh.
And this is what you get.
Well, now that I think about it, Timcast probably isn't doing enough to be inclusive and to reach out to these liberals. So we're going to replace Seamus with Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks.
You can't replace me. And then your stock's going to go down $1 billion. I'll be like the Tucker Carlson of Timcast.
Experts say it's actually might be good.
Experts say it'd be a great idea.
Experts say having
to alienate his entire viewer base.
Telling your customers, telling your audience, telling your fans that they're bad people tends not to work out for you.
Yeah, shockingly enough. It's so bizarre, but this is just what happens, right? People don't understand the brands that they're trying to create advertisements for, and sometimes they can get away with it. I remember last year we had Libby Emmons here, and we were, maybe this is a year and a half ago now, but we were watching these different woke advertisements that candy companies were doing. It was a bunch of different brands.
Oh, the M&M's thing from Tucker Carlson, is that what you're talking about?
Oh, no. I'm talking about the one where the witch comes in and basically kills the kid with magic, but that's not exactly what happens. Yes. Don't you remember we were watching the commercial and reviewing it? This kid has like a witch babysitter, and she comes in and she the kid does something gender non-conforming, and so it was supposed to be a woke commercial. Do you remember this? We reviewed it on air and made fun of it. And we were looking at a couple woke commercials. But sometimes brands can sort of get away with it because even though their product is apolitical, the consumers aren't going to care all that much. But with Bud Light, I mean, you're really talking about something that is marketed generally, again, towards fratty dudes and also working class people. It is a cheap beer. Your audience is toxic masculinity, right?
That's such a good point, though, because so in Uncovered I write about something I call guilt journalism. I specifically cite there was a magazine, Cosmo, that put on the cover this gigantic obese woman, and it just with the headline, "This is healthy." This is healthy. Now, it's one thing. If you want to put on the headline, want to put this person on the cover, okay. But what are we seeing here? What are we doing? Well, it's because they feel this guilt over what they've done for decades of putting rail thin women on their cover and what that has caused. And so now they feel this guilt. It's like a pre-cancellation. We're gonna just get ahead of this and say, oh no, now this is healthy. Now we're the good people. And honestly, in some ways that feels like what that Bud Light marketing executive was saying too. It's like we're a bad brand. So let's become good now. But we feel guilty about what we've done.
Exactly. Well, they wanted to court a higher class of consumers. That's the general idea. White men are bad, right? Working class men are bad, right? All of the people who work considered toxically masculine conservatives, the frat boys. We know what they're dog whistling when they talk about this. And so what do we need? Well, we need a trendy, younger, hip viewer base, people who would have higher social credit scores, so to speak. And that's who we need to try to market to. So we're going to spit in the face of our current consumer base by marketing to them with something that we are explicitly saying isn't for them, because what we're trying to say is this brand is not for you anymore. Go away.
Yep.
And then when they go away, it's like, where are you going? What's happening? Yeah.
I just want to get back to doing regular stuff and not getting preached at.
Do you remember Gillette?
Yeah.
You guys remember the Gillette ad, I'm sure.
When that guy
Another
was
great example.
That's how Jeremy's razors came about, right?
Yes.
There was the part
Yeah.
where the dude sees the attractive woman and he goes like, ooh, and he tries to walk, but the other guy stops him and is like, no, don't talk to women.
Don't talk to women. He's like, women are gross, bro. No, actually, Jeremy's razors, I think it was a Dollar Shave Club thing, right? Didn't DSC cancel?
Harry's razors.
Harry's,
canceled their
sorry,
ads.
Harry's,
canceled their ads. Yeah, but that Gillette ad too, it was so ridiculous because they took, so rough and tumble play, which all of the psychological literature shows is incredibly important and necessary for the development of young boys. It portrays it as two little boys just beating the crap out of each other, and the two dads at the grill going, well, boys will be boys, as if that's what real life is, right? They took a gender studies dissertation, made it into an advertisement, and insulted their entire viewer base because guess what? Like, those razors are for men. They're male razors. And I think this is a softer repeat of that in some
I don't
sense.
even remember why Jeremy made chocolate bars at this point. I just know that we have 2,000 of them downstairs.
They're good.
They're really good.
They're actually pretty good, man.
They have 4 ingredients. It's like chocolate, dried milk powder, and like organic sugar or something.
Nuts.
And cocoa butter.
For half
And
of
the one
them.
with nuts is like almonds.
For the him.
What was it? It was the Hershey's did the candy bar commercial with the trans woman.
Yep.
And then Jeremy was like, "Don't buy that chocolate. Buy our chocolate."
Dude,
and then I
honestly,
was like,
great.
"Okay, I will." And so I bought 2,000 bars.
You're such a consumer, Tim.
Well, I think we should legitimately be supporting
Agreed.
these efforts. So the moment Jeremy's light or whatever comes out, brew, we'll
Light,
order
yeah.
that too. But this is the point. You should be supporting companies that are clearly in support of your values. This show was sponsored by Public Square. Shout out to them because we're huge fans. You can go on the app and you can find businesses, and it's awesome. Look in your area, figure out which businesses actually care about your values, and don't give your money to Bud Light.
That's
Boom.
great.
And then we win.
Yeah. Well, for so long, conservatives have been so reluctant to do that. One massive flaw with the right, people view this as a strength. It's not as much of a strength as they think it is. One massive flaw on the right is this odd desire not to alienate everyone, right? And so the left will claim they don't want to alienate people, but then obviously they shun anyone who steps out of line even slightly. And the right has always said, well, we're just a home for everyone who considers themselves a non-leftist or anti-leftist. And so because of that, I think conservatives have very much prided themselves on being able to have conversations with people they disagree with. And that's all well and good, right? But I think for a while, there was this stigma that if you as a conservative didn't tolerate everything the left was doing, then you were just as bad as the left. And I'm glad conservatives are stepping out of that and saying, you know what, we can and we should boycott these brands, and there actually is something we can do about this.
Yeah.
It is weird how what was it? Sticks, X and Hammer put out. He made a meme and it was so amazing, and it said the actual political party. Let me pull this up. Shout out to Sticks. I got to pull this up. It was too funny. And then I don't want to ruin the joke, so let me get it. I'm scrolling. I'll find it. It's in here. So I retweeted it because it was hilarious. Here you go. Check this out. It says the two-party system summed up: Republican paralyzed goat, Democrat diseased rat. So instead of the elephant and the jackass or whatever, it's the Republican paralyzed goat. I think perfectly sums up what the Republican Party is. They get startled and then just lock up and then fall over, and the Democrats are a diseased rat.
There you go.
That is
And I mean, I'm not
That
the
is
individuals,
wonderful.
not the people. I'm
Of
not trying
course
to,
not.
I'm not trying to call people that. I'm saying the political parties and what they represent. Like, the Republican being a paralyzed goat is just too perfect.
Yeah.
Like the diseased rat thing is like, I don't know, sure, fine, whatever. But the Republican's a paralyzed goat.
And you're trending on Twitter.
There we go, Tim. You're done. I can't believe you just said that.
I don't care. I retweeted Sticks. I will tweet this out. I hereby agree with this.
It's the party
Like-
thing, yeah.
Yeah, the parties, this is what they represent. But really, like I said, the Democrat disease rat thing is kind of like, yeah, okay. The Republicans as paralyzed goats hits the nail on the hammer too perfectly. That's what they are. Yeah. Something startling comes out like, ah! Yeah. And they fall over. Paralyzed goat. Shout out Stick, Sex, and Hammer 666. That was a really good one. But that's why it's been so difficult to win culture war battles. However, disaffected liberals have aligned themselves with the Republican Party.
Exactly.
And now there is, for Republicans, a fighting chance. So I still look at it like this. We were at the Turning Point USA event. We were the only ones there, except for Steve Bannon, who weren't wearing suits. Everybody's up on stage wearing some kind of suit.
Yeah.
And then we show up and we're just like, I don't know, wearing what we wear.
Looking like schlubs.
Yeah, well,
it was a
that's the
black
issue.
tie event.
Yeah, sure. So this is what I think. These young conservative types, look, man, if you go to a bunch of high school kids wearing a suit and you're like, hello there, fellow kids, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, what? Well, you got to be like relaxed and casual,
There's clearly a realignment. I mean, happening. I how many people they're fans of the show probably, consider themselves potentially conservative, but not Republicans. I think that there's a lot of people that are in the culture today that are seeing where the left is going and saying, that's not me. I don't know exactly where I am right now, but I think about it. You talk about the right could be talk to anyone, right? And I think that's a good philosophy. I agree with that. I talk to anyone. And the left right now is not just the right has bad ideas, they have dumb ideas, conservatives are stupid, but these people are dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge change. That's actually and it's coming from the media too. I describe them as anti-speech activists. These people that should be about free speech and allowing a free flow of ideas on social media or wherever are now saying, no, these people are dangerous. And I actually think that young people see that and say, I'm not going to be a part of that. That's not who I am.
Well, it's the cult versus the not cult.
Yeah.
I want to mention something here too, because the media did spend a lot of time talking about how much it cared about free speech. It's really easy to care about free speech when you're the only voice. But as soon as the advent of the internet and your average person being able to voice your own opinions, all of a sudden we got all of these specials on different news outlets about disinformation and what we need to do to ensure that hate speech doesn't spread online. The whole utility of television in the present era where the internet exists is I get to talk at you, and you don't get to say anything back.
Right.
That's what it's for. So we shouldn't be shocked that the vast majority of individuals in legacy media don't believe in free speech because their platform is fundamentally anti-free speech. It's I get to say what I want and I don't hear anything back from you.
So we're working on a bunch of new projects. Obviously, we're looking for talent, and we've been talking to some individuals who are like, oh man, I don't want to be involved in political stuff. And I'm like, look, the show that we're launching is not political in any way. It's totally its own standalone thing. And so we started working on this, and I'll keep the details vague for now. But the individual said that they started getting threats of violence, insults, and attacks. And I was like, did you get any of that from anyone associated with the right or like disaffected liberals? And he's like, no, of course not.
Yeah.
And I was like, and do you agree with all of these people? It's like, no, of course not. And I'm like, isn't it crazy that someone like Seamus, who is Catholic, staunchly pro-life, can sit here and disagree with me or Ian or whatever, and he's like he's one of our best friends. We laugh together. He's on the show consistently. There's no beef.
Right.
Yeah.
There's none. But if it comes to the left, you disagree on one issue, you're out. You're far right. You're bad. You're evil.
Literally Hitler.
Yeah.
Literally
Yes.
Hitler, yeah.
This is the Joe Rogan thing that's so fascinating to me. I mean, Joe Rogan is a guy who's, if he's supporting any politician, it's Bernie Sanders. This is as progressive as it can get. And yet, why does the left hate him and the corporate media hate him? Is because he's impeding on their power and because he's willing to have conversations. I mean, I describe him as an information maximalist. And the media is now full of information minimalists. They want the minimum amount of information out there for the public to consume because really they just fundamentally distrust people. They distrust their own audience and they distrust the average American. And the right is now all of a sudden in this position of being, no, actually, let's get ideas out there. Now, not the right, but Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, these are people that just have a fundamental disagreement with the way the left has shifted towards this anti-free speech platform.
And I think the other side of that too, though, is also the left has gotten so crazy, and a lot of their core beliefs now don't stand up to intellectual scrutiny. Yeah. So if they had their ideas challenged on social media or on these news programs, and people are exposed to one side and the other side and the actual facts, like men can't be women, men don't have uteruses. If we truly have an actual open debate, pretty much 90% of everything they believe is gonna be obliterated.
Yep. That's why they don't want to come on the show.
Yep.
And every polite invite gets turned down. We will pay for your travel. We will fly you first class. We will get a car waiting for you with a guy holding up a sign with your name on it. We'll bring you out. There will be a filet mignon, medium rare, Oscar style, right on this table.
It was great service.
And you can say whatever you want. And they're like, no.
Wait, y'all
You can
been
eat a
flying first
steak
class?
while insulting Tim across from him.
I'm saying for leftists, we gotta pull out of the stops.
Well, that's red carpet.
Come on down. And they're like, no. And then you get the grifter ones who are like just willing to lie, cheat, and steal for fame. And they're like, oh, come on. It's like, not you.
Right.
You know, we know what your game is. Yeah. I'm talking about the actual personalities who are talking about leftist politics and policies. Jimmy Dore came on, but we're big fans of Jimmy Dore.
He was a regular on Tucker too.
Right.
But this is the thing. Like, there are some people that I think are willing to do it themselves and are willing to have that exchange, but they're just so afraid of the backlash. They're so afraid of what a few people yelling at them on Twitter will feel like that they don't understand that is such an unrepresentative situation when it comes to what your actual fans, what people that actually like you, they would get out of that. They're so warped and living in this bubble of Twitter, which is, as polls have shown, 2% of all Americans account for 90% of tweets about politics. I mean, it's unrepresentative. And listen, I spend way too much time on Twitter myself. Amen. I love it. I hate that I love it. I'm not representative of this, but I try to have some self-awareness that this is not real life, that people who, love me on Twitter or hate me on Twitter, it's a very small cross section.
But I think it's becoming real life. That's the issue. That
it's starting to feed into it. Yeah.
Well, that it has been. This, Twitter isn't real life was prominent 6-7 years ago because people were hyper online, but now there's no middle anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's to the point where it really does. The craziest thing is I've had people come up to me and be like, oh, hey, you're Tim Pool. I follow you on Twitter. And I'm like, oh, do you watch the show? And they're like, I just follow you on Twitter, man.
Really? Okay, that's cool.
Wow.
So it's like Twitter's influence has become pronounced, which is probably why Elon Musk was like, I have to buy this thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of what people end up deciding to talk about or report about or discuss on their podcast is based on what they see trending on Twitter. So it's an incredibly powerful tool. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that while Twitter, in terms of its user base, is not the furthest left platform, it certainly leans to the left to the point where if it were a state, for example, it would be, pretty solidly blue. And a lot of corporations will look to the kind of reception they are getting on Twitter from their advertisement campaigns to determine whether they should shift course. And they're getting an incredibly biased sample, and many of them haven't realized that in the past. So you'll get a bunch of people tweeting at you saying, well, this campaign was offensive, et cetera, et cetera. All right, well, you're getting a biased sample there. But corporations will still make changes based on that very biased sample.
Let's jump to the story from the Daily Mail. Refund the police. Portland finally launches crackdown on crime after defunding the police by $15 million as it hires more district attorneys and investigators to tackle spiraling car and retail theft. All right, how long until you think it is until liberals start saying, we were always in support of the police. It's the conservatives that hated police.
Well, they want to refund the police. I hope they kept the receipt because I think a lot of those cops ain't coming back. You drive them out of their jobs. You make it as difficult as possible for them to do it.
This was their plan the whole time.
Yep.
They got all the conservative-leaning cops to quit, and now that none of them would touch the departments with a 10-foot pole, they're going to hire only the people who support their crackpot ideas.
Between that and COVID, between the vaccine mandates and all the other things that changed the force out of this. Kim Foxx in Chicago, big prosecutor, wouldn't prosecute Jussie Smollett, was a Soros-funded DA, which I know you're not supposed to say, but that is just a fact.
How dare you?
Now she's not running for a re-election. I think we're going to see a shift here, and part of the shift I would imagine is because they got to get this shift going before 2024 because this is a winning issue for the Republicans.
Yes, but the cops are going to be pro-Antifa now. We've already seen it happen. And there's a video of a guy backing away from Antifa, and they're threatening him with weapons, and the cops grab the victim and arrest him. Wow. Maybe I don't know the full context. Yeah. But it's a guy backing up saying, get away from me, and then the cop apologizes to an Antifa woman. So, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Well, they got to be, man, because if they're bringing these police officers back in these blue areas, these cops are risking their livelihoods by just doing their jobs. If they get charged for arresting the wrong person by one of these liberal DAs,
until
they get dragged through the media.
Yeah.
They're going to get charged. They're
And-
going to
Yeah.
get convicted.
Yes.
They're going to get thrown in jail. So they got to be on the same side.
But
They have to be
what-
politically aligned.
What happens when Portland says, all right, we're going to be hiring 500 new cops and all the applicants are Antifa? I'm not kidding. They're gonna be the ones to show up and be like, yes, I'll be a cop. And then basically a far left extremist gang puts on the badge and can go around doing whatever they want with government sanction.
It's definitely possible. Part of me hopes that their ideology would select against it. I understand that they don't have principles, but they hate cops so much that you think that would get them pushed out of their
They're
social
lying.
circles.
Nope. They'd be like, they'll have a direct action meeting and they'll say, we're going to take over the department. We're going to take those badges and then we'll control it. And they're going to go, yay. Just like when the BLM activists cheered for the police arresting the guy from his own home. They say the police are bad and then they go and call the cops and cheer for them when the cops show up.
Yep.
They're posting on Twitter, arrest them, arrest these people. They want that power.
I thought you were about to say that. Wait, what happens when they're all trans? I thought that was where we were going with it, but
But a lot of them would be.
Right.
That's the thing about the ideology.
Yeah.
No, have you seen? There was I think James Lindsay posted this. They're already wearing rainbow armbands.
Oh man.
And I'm like, this is really weird.
everything's changing. Yeah.
Or it's changing, but in many ways staying the same. It's like history rhyming. It's not a red armband; it's a rainbow armband, but it basically represents the same kind of authoritarian pressures.
They just got all the colors covered.
That's right.
The rainbow. Yeah.
So they're all the entire spectrum of authoritarianism.
Yeah.
In one armband.
Yep. It exists on a spectrum, Tim.
I mean, it does. But yeah, I guess the issue was Portland's been collapsing. I think, what is it? They had like a famous restaurant shut down because the crime is so bad. There's like a bunch of cafes are shutting down. I don't know what they thought was going to happen or what any of these cities thought was going to happen. And so for me, I'm kind of like, good, I don't care.
Yeah.
But the problem is the aftermath.
Yeah.
When they start hiring far left extremists, we're seeing this story of the mass exodus from California. And we're like, haha, look at that. Moderate and right-leaning people are fleeing and going to Florida and Texas. And it's like, yeah, you know what that means, right? Many of them are probably cops. Many of them worked in government law enforcement, things like that. Now the left is going to open up those positions and make appointments of far left extremists into those seats of government. California may lose a lot of people, but now they're going to create a lot of far left extremists in positions of authority and power.
Yeah. Yeah, the good ones. I mean, I'm in Texas myself, and it's a big story right now. Obviously, of people coming. It's like you're right. The good ones are coming, right? The ones who are open to coming to Texas, open to coming to Tennessee or wherever. Then you get left with even bluer in some cases. Obviously, it's going to make Texas a little bit more purple than it was. I mean, I'm in Dallas, so it's already pretty 50-50 red blue. But yeah, what's the effect going to be in the L.A. and San Francisco, which is already just struggling beyond belief. We barely get coverage of it.
There's this crazy video I saw today where it's a homeless guy in San Diego who's got a tent and he's got a knife. It looks like some kind of like buck knife. And he's screaming how he's going to kill a woman, some random woman. And then he just stabs the wall as hard as he can. It's kind of nothing happens, but he's screaming. The dude filming is like, every day he does this. He's going to kill somebody and like the cops won't do anything.
Oh my God.
Why would they? What are they going to do about it? What are they going to do? Show up and arrest the guy and then they just open the door and let him go again? It's a cultural and social decay.
Yeah.
That's it. I wonder, I got to be honest, what's causing all of the mental issues that surround homelessness? Not every homeless person is mentally ill.
No.
Some of them are vagabonds by choice. But a lot of these people you see sleeping on the city streets, there's something wrong upstairs. What's causing this spike? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably a combination of mental health issues and also drug policy.
Yeah, it's that also. I mean, look, man is not living the way he is meant to live in this society. And that produces negative outcomes physically and mentally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I saw your tweet today about kids. What's causing people that are young people to
I tweeted
not want to be who they are. I mean, this is a huge problem.
Well, I was just thinking about it in a general sense. I tweeted, we need to start asking ourselves why young people are so desperate to be someone else instead of themselves.
Yep.
And it's gotten like 9,000 retweets or whatever. The funny thing, though, is the left response is immediately talking about trans issues.
Right. It's beyond that.
And I was just like, I was speaking generally. Kids wanting to be a famous YouTuber, like wanting to be Mr. Beast or whatever. My point is this. Some people have latched on that and been like, every child looks up to somebody and wants to do that. Or blah, blah, blah. Look, I am outright saying Why are there people who are dyeing their skin? Why are there people who are trans? Why are there people who are trans species? Why are there people who create fake personas? Why are there people who use different names? Why don't they just want to develop who they are? And someone responded to me, a conservative person was like, it's normal for kids to want to be someone else. And then I'm just like, is that a projection? Because when I was a kid, I didn't want to be anybody else. That didn't exist in my mind. I just was what I was. There's a viral video from a show called The Good Doctor, where it's a show about an autistic doctor. I've never seen it. And the patient is a transgender little boy who has testicular cancer. And you find that at the end of the scene. But he says something like, he's autistic. So he's like, you're a boy because you have XY chromosomes, not XX. And then the kid says, how did you know you were supposed to be a boy other than other than biology? And he goes, that's your question makes no sense. I'm not supposed to be anything. I am a boy. And I was like, that's a perfect line. You're not supposed to be anything. You're supposed to be who you are, what you are. Yeah. Why are people so desperate, young people so desperate to not be themselves?
I mean, a lot of the mechanisms that we have for self-discovery and for emotional development and social development have gone by the wayside. You know, we don't go outside and play anymore as kids. We don't really interact. Everything that we do is on an app. It's through social media. We're filtered through these programs that have algorithms that shape our world, and they're programmed to reward you and give you a dopamine hit based on certain triggers. Yeah. So our entire society has shifted from something that allows you to be able to grow and have that self-discovery process and figure out who you are and reward you for being an individual and just being yourself, to making you want. And again, these children are impressionable. Your brain doesn't fully form and develop until you're 25. So we have these this group of millions of kids who don't go through this process, and their entire life experience is geared toward wanting to please an algorithm, which is essentially making you want to be what you see on the screen instead of figuring out who the hell you are.
Absolutely.
They're getting plastic surgery to look like Snapchat filters. Young women are developing fake Tourette's syndrome.
Yeah.
Because they want to emulate what they see on these apps.
And yet, social contagion with respect to transgenderism is completely dismissed. There are kids who are literally pretending to have Tourette's. There has not been some massive uptick in Tourette's, and yet when you see a massive uptick in gender confusion, that couldn't possibly be social contagion. They were always that way, and now society allows them to say it.
But it may not be pretending. They may actually
social contagion doesn't mean pretending. Yeah,
right. They're pretending to be Tourette's. Some of these young women are actually developing a social issue, and they're getting Tourette's syndrome from watching prominent Tourette's personalities.
Well, some of it's also coming from inside the home too. We talk a lot about fatherless homes, but there's a piece that I wrote for TimcastNews.com.
It's actually just Timcast.com.
well, Timcast.com, my bad.
Actually, is it?
But you have to check the name of your own website.
Well, we might have bought that other.
He's got a lot going on. Yeah,
we might have bought the other URL.
There was a study from 1994 that just resurfaced that found that 53% of mothers of boys who identify as trans have their own psychological issues, including depression and borderline personality disorder. So it's not even just social contagion. I think is a large part of it, but some of this is being directed from within these children's own homes because their parents have their own issues that they haven't sorted out
yet. And that's even before social media, right? 1994. I mean, I agree with you. I think social media is a huge factor of it, not just because of the incentives of it, but because you go from maybe you grew up wanting to be famous or you wanted to be successful, but now you want to be special, and you're doing it in a way that is performative. It's public in a way that never existed before. I mean, I whether it's the media, whether it's kids growing up, the incentives of getting feedback from friends, from family, from fans in the moment, it's very hard to. I can't even imagine growing up in a society where you are living in public and you have in your mind the potential of, is this the thing that's going to make me famous or special? And you're doing it on Instagram, you're doing it on all these platforms that have that ability.
And then you're also doing it with all these the normal pressures that you have with being a kid and being at school and dealing with things. And even when it comes to bullying and the normal things that you would just go through in elementary school and junior high and high school, there's not an off switch anymore because of these platforms. You go home, you're still dealing with it online through DMs, through other people tweeting and TikTok and sharing your post. It never goes away. So we have an entire culture that's sick right now. And again, when we talk about things like school shootings, this is part of the reason we've created a culture that is completely completely ill and needs a little bit of reformation. We've taken God out of people's lives. Amen. We've taken the meaning out of people's lives by devaluing the family structure and what role family should play in our lives. And all of it has an impact, and it's all playing out in these really weird ways as we sit here and scratch our heads trying to figure out what's going on, because we're too afraid, not us, but in general, people are afraid to address the real issues.
Yeah. Well, I think another massive problem is just how much we have forgotten what nature is in and of itself. So wealth allows you to insulate yourself from nature. And it's also allowed us to insulate ourselves from our own nature. We think of it as something external. That's nature. It's out there. But you're a human being. You also have a nature to you. And so not only do we not know how to combat the threats that exist in the outside world we've insulated ourselves from, we have actually forgotten how to combat the elements of our own nature that are nefarious.
You know, I'm reminded of that scene in the movie Snatch. You guys ever see that one with
Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt's in it. Who else is in it? Jason Statham's in it. There's a lot of people that are in it. And there's that scene where Jason Statham is with his buddy, and then his buddy says, like, you can't drink milk because it's out of sync with evolution. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, humans didn't evolve to drink milk. They adapted it later, so it's not properly attuned to like our bodies and digestion. You shouldn't drink it. And I'm thinking about that as it pertains to modern social media. Humans, this technology is out of sync with evolution. Humans survived by being certain ways, like community, family, things like that. We certainly want to do away with bad things and keep hold on to the good things and the good ideas. But now we have this machine that is feeding us a feedback loop of dopamine hits and other psychotic garbage, and it's making young people literally go insane.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think, you know, it's been a problem longer than this, but COVID made it worse. I think that the after effects of COVID, I've got this theory, this column I'm thinking about, which is that basically COVID explains everything over the last couple of years. I think, you know, whether it's January 6th or anything, I think that there's so much of what is the after effect of those insane year and a half, 2 years. I mean, in some people's cases, people that I know, it remains to this day that it will have permanent damage on our culture, that in ways that I don't think we even fully comprehend, that in disrupting the nature of what we were supposed to be doing, of what we're supposed to, of how we're supposed to live. And yet we all went along with this for, you know, some people longer than others.
I think the disintegration of the family may be the worst apocalyptic scenario people don't realize.
Of course.
When we talk about, zombies, meteor strikes, World War III, it's like, dude, families breaking up could be worse than all of those things.
No, it is, because the family is the most foundational building block of any social structure. It's all built atop the family.
If I feel like because there's no communal family structure, you end up with rampant crime. My neighbor doesn't know me, doesn't care about me. I am meaningless to their existence, so why not exploit that? You end up with crime going crazy in these cities.
Yeah, exactly. Well, part of the beauty of family and part of the beauty, again, of what is built into us, what is built into our own nature, is the people closest to us are people we are literally biologically hardwired to want to fight for and protect in a way that we are not strangers. You can have a very good-hearted police officer who genuinely cares about you and who's even well-trained. He is not going to have the same internal motivations to fight for you the way that your brother or your father will. And what we've attempted to do, because we've forgotten our nature, is try to universalize the protection of one another. Well, we'll just build a great big system that does it, and we won't have to rely on these connections. It doesn't work. I'm not saying that having a legal system doesn't work, that having police departments doesn't work, but what I am saying is the thing that works the best is the family, in the family unit. And we've tried to outsource so much of what it does best that we're just failing at all of those things. And now people don't even end up, having families anymore or close connections to them because they believe they can rely on these institutions instead, and they don't end up getting the same results.
I would just say, not to be all glass half full, which I do get into occasionally, of being maybe too optimistic about this stuff, but I do think conversations like this are encouraging. And the fact that these conversations are successful on platforms that people may be finding other junk food, and yet can have real deep conversations, can be part of a community, even if it's a digital one, is actually a sign. And again, I know we started with Tucker Carlson, the demise of Fox News. It's another sign that corporate media is junk, and that conversations like this are going to win out and actually connect with people in ways that it should. These are the kinds of connections that people should be having.
Have you guys ever seen A Bronx Tale?
No.
Movie? I've never seen it. You have seen it? But someone posted a clip on Twitter today, and I watched it. I've not seen the movie, but this clip was incredible. I think the movie's basically about like Italian mafia in the the 40s or something. I don't know.
I think so.
What is it? What? 30s. And so what happens is this guy is eating dinner with this kid. This is the mob boss, and a bunch of bikers roll up to this bar and they're being loud. He walks over to check out what's going on, and the owner is arguing with these bikers saying, "You're not dressed properly. You can't be in here." And then the leader of the biker gang looks at the mob boss and he's like, "Look, man, we just want a couple beers and we'll be out of here. We'll be out of our way." And he goes, "Spoken like a gentleman. Give these men their beers." And I was like, "Look at that. That's like honorable." Then they immediately shake the beers up and spray the bartender. And then he walks in and says, "Okay, now that was wrong. You need to leave." And then the guy, the biker guy says, like, I'll tell you when the F I'm leaving." So the mob boss walks over to the door and then locks it. And he turns around and he goes, "Now you can't leave." And then the door opens and the guys come in and start just like beating the crap out of the bikers. I'm not a big fan of how they mercilessly beat these guys, but it got me thinking about how we used to handle things. Mm-hmm. If some dude showed up not dressed properly and were kind of loud and obnoxious, but we're acting like gentlemen, we were like, "The beer's on, by all means, have a beer. We're here to get along. You were nice to me. Have a nice day." But then when you cross that line, we say no to that. I was thinking about that because what do we have now? I'm watching a video of a woman in a shopping, in like a Target or whatever, just like beating some woman as they're like stealing stuff, and everyone's just standing there filming or running away. And I'm like, man, what a contrast to that scene from A Bronx Tale where they're like, "We'll be nice to you if you're nice to us, but if you cross the line, we're going to drag you out of here by your hair and then tell you to leave, knock your bikes over." I mean, the scene's amazing. Yeah. But it's very, very different these days, isn't it? Where we let criminals run rampant. Everyone's too scared to get involved. And I think maybe it's kind of obvious to a lot of people, the government will arrest you if you try to defend yourself from crime.
Or nowadays you might get shot in the ass.
Well, yeah.
You might get shot. I mean, I'm not jumping in a fight.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be the one that's standing there recording, but I mean, you literally have to, and it's sad that we're here, but you have to think twice before you intervene in certain conflicts, especially if you're in an area like New York, where you're trying to protect your store from somebody who's robbing you with a weapon, and you shoot him and you're the one that gets arrested.
Exactly. And so this brings us to a point where it's not just that we lack civility, it's that our social institutions are actively anti-civility. When you do something to try to protect and uphold the social order by preventing crime, you get in trouble for that.
Yep.
And wasn't that kind of a core tenet, though, of like this modern progressivism is the idea of deconstruction?
Yep.
They want to deconstruct America, deconstruct these systems that have been established, but there's no indication of anything that they're supposed to replace it with.
Well, I've said this before, and I won't launch into my whole explanation for why I put it this way, but leftism is social decay. That's what it is. I mean, societies break down because things tend to, over time, we're a fallen species, and leftism is the ideological rationalization we give to our abdication to uphold our institutions.
The chaos is the point.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com and click Join Us so that you can watch the members-only uncensored portion of the show. We got a crazy story for you guys in the uncensored portion about a lawmaker who wants to remove certain language from a law that protects children, and I'm going to keep it family-friendly, but yeah, it's not going to be so family-friendly in the uncensored portion of the show. But let's read those Super Chats. We got S.A. Federale who says, "Tim, last night Max was Max Reddick, whose Super Chat you read before mine. He cast shade on Crowder, who did nothing wrong. I see a Super Chat like that, and I'm going to push back. We need people like Steven and you. Thanks for giving airtime to Dylan Radigan." That rant from Dylan Radigan was epic. You know that one from back in the day?
No. I love Dylan, though.
Where he's like, the Democrats are just kicking the can down the road. Republicans are burning it down while the country is being extracted. He's like, they are taking $10 trillion and sending it overseas. And
did he say this on MSNBC?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dylan was one of my favorite people that I worked with back. I mean, I didn't work with him, but I was a media reporter. Super smart guy. Ended up getting involved, I think, in with marijuana.
Hydroponics and farming.
Yeah. Really interesting dude.
Yeah, he's cool, dude. I don't know where he's at these days.
No.
You know.
I don't know. I think I still follow him on Twitter.
Yeah. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, "Biden's brain is broken and strained. A great unifier treating half the country with disdain. Billions to Ukraine. His words equal a migraine. If he's to remain, we'll see him grab his chest in pain. FJB." There you go, little rat. Wendy Casker says, "Longtime member, keep on keeping on. Really appreciate the super chat." Grofty says, "Buck. We're a big fan of the chickens. Thank you very much." All right, what do we got here? Doug Ripley says, sorry if I asked the last 2 nights, but what do you think Fox does next? Logically, Waters to 8, McCallum back to 7. If given into the spirit of the age, Jenner.
Caitlyn Jenner. That's funny. I got to say, well, I mean, Jesse Waters back to 8 makes sense. I would not put Martha McCallum back to 7. I think you got to do another opinion person there at 7. And who will it be? I don't know. I mean, I will have to say a shout out to my friend Will Kane, who I think is great. Will is a frequent fill-in for Tucker, and I think he does a good job. Maybe a little bit more in the Tucker camp than they would like. So I don't know if that's the direction they go. And you got Brian Kilmeade holding it down, not doing so well on the ratings, but he's around.
Right on. All right. Rack Braz says, is Steve related to author John Krakauer?
I've gotten that a bunch. No, same last name, which is a weird last name, but no, love Into the Wild, but not related.
Justin Ann Pias says, Ian is going to leave you for Alex Stein's show. I think he already did. I think that's literally where he is right now.
In Texas.
He said he's never coming back.
Yeah. He said Adrian is the new Ian. Get it? Adrian.
No, I know.
Ian.
People in chat even were like, dude, I like Ian's shiny new hat and stuff.
Yeah. All right. Doug Ripley says, Tim, heard from a little birdie Steve Deese gave you a screener of Nefarious when he did IRL. Have you seen it? One of the best movies I've seen in a long time. Should be PG-13, not R. Get well soon, Steve. People here watched it, and Seamus is like, we got to go see it.
Yeah, I heard it was really good.
I've heard good things. I've heard really good things, actually. So, but yeah, I think we should go see it. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Dude, let's do it.
All right. Let's grab another one. Char Dietz says, tonight's views on Fox will be lower because many didn't know Tucker was gone until they tuned in last night. That's right. So the ratings will be even lower tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That'll be interesting.
It's gonna drop down before it gets back up again. I mean, I think that Monday's ratings weren't terrible, but I think that's because everyone expected Tucker to be there.
Right.
And
exactly.
So, yeah, and now they're.
Oh man, the key demo views are going to be like 50.
It's gonna be bad. Look, it was really bad for them in November 2020. It bounced back up, but partially because of Tucker. I don't know what helps them back up.
Crazy, self-inflicted wound.
Yeah.
Guardsman says, even with no current job, Tucker Carlson is still competing in the same time slot. Yup, and getting more views.
Good for him.
Good troll.
The Twitter network.
Can't slow that man down.
Sean McWilliam says, Tucker invite to Timcast IRL. That is a no-brainer. We have already reached out to Tucker's team and said we would love to have Tucker on the show. Be fantastic. We'll see what happens. We've invited lots of people on the show. They don't come on the show. What are you going to do? Elon's been invited several times. It is what it is. All right. Let's grab another super chat. S.A. Federali says, down with the monarchy, go with Schedule F. Trump 20 infinity. Kames O'Geef says CSS glitch was perfect opportunity for we need a complete and total shutdown of the post-millennial until we figure out what the hell is going on. Uh-oh. Libby. CSS error on one of your articles. I don't know.
You know what? Leave Libby alone, okay? It's not her fault.
I love that though. It's like we read a lot of post millennial, so there'll be something and I'll be like, you can't say that, and then they'll go and change it. Like, he's right, we can't say. There was one where they called child sex changes gender affirming care, and I was like, what are you guys doing? It's like, and they're like, you're right, actually. Here's what I said: the right will say child genital mutilation, the left will say gender affirming care, and I'm like, I don't need to use any hyperbolic language. Child sex change operation.
Yeah,
literally what it is. That's it. But I understand why the right wants to use the terminology they do. And I totally understand why the left is trying to use their terminology. Everyone's trying to win a political battle.
Well, yeah, because you can't actually change sex. Like, your biological sex can't be changed. You can
But
mutilate your genitals.
it's like, I actually, so I think if conservatives go to a regular person and say they're mutilating children's genitals, that person will reject that notion and say, no, you're crazy.
Yeah.
If you say child sex change, they'll be like, what? It's a more neutral. It's like the literal academic term for what it is.
And plus, if you put child before anything, it's going to get people's attention. I mean, I think that's honestly why the issue has become such a hot button issue and a winning issue for the right, is because it went from sex change operation to child sex change. Well,
to affirming care.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a funny meme from 4chan where this person said when they were a kid, they loved the movie Predator. So being young and wanting to play video games online, they made their user tag the child predator, and then started trying to add their friends, and nobody would respond. Yeah, it's a funny meme. Christopher Fisher says, I keep hearing you talk about crypto and blockchain. Have you considered to bring on Charles Hoskinson, founder of Cardano and co-founder of Ethereum? He was asked recently in his podcast if he would go on your show, and he said he would if he was invited. I think we invited him a long time ago directly, and then I don't know what happened. So, I don't know. I don't do booking. Cassandra does.
I thought he was going to ask. I talk about crypto a lot. Are you going to start Timcoin? I'd love to buy in.
Never. Agamemnon's Gym Bag says, Bud, keep in mind that the upcoming Bud earnings report is for Q1. The protest was in Q2, so the effects won't show in this report. Don't let them gaslight you and say the boycott isn't working. That's right. We can already see that it is. Mohav26 says, will Tucker Carlson becoming independent help him to reach more undecided voters and hopefully convince them to vote conservative? Maybe. Maybe not.
It's a good question. I mean, Fox News is a giant platform, but Tucker has enough avenues to reach people that it's not going to have a problem. If he can work out the deal, which obviously is up in the air every day, it feels like something else is happening. Obviously, no one thought he'd be able to put a video out tonight based on his contract. Clearly, that's not a violation of his contract. So
he didn't say anything, though.
Right. He was very careful. He didn't say anything about why he left. But if he can actually get his voice out sooner than later, I don't think he's going to have any problem convincing anyone of anything.
I just want to point out that Luke has been spamming the chat, just ragging on Seamus.
I know.
Non-stop.
He's such a little baby. Every single time I'm on the show, I can always count on him to watch me. Appreciate it, Luke.
Matthew Schneider says, since people are boycotting Anheuser-Busch, wouldn't it also be helpful to boycott or protest Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia and Tampa, Florida? I'm sure they're making tons of money from their amusement parks. I don't know if we need to protest. It sounds like work. This is the easiest culture war battle ever because it's literally just buy a different beer.
Yeah, not doing something.
Yeah, you don't got to do anything. You just go when you go to the store, get Coors instead of Bud, and then you win. It's easy. There we go. Infernal Saxon says, run Roberto Jr. on the Democratic ticket. So for Cast Brew Coffee, we I want to be careful what I say. I think we've sold way more than we expected. I'll put it that way, of Roberto Jr.'s Rise with Roberto Jr. breakfast blend. And it's because everyone's they love Roberto Jr. He's our rooster. Okay. And we raised him. He's Roberto's son. You know, sure. Some people say he's on a throne he did not build.
Wow.
Yeah, very strong words. But that one is selling like hotcakes. So we officially put in the order. We've got the decaf is currently underway. Sleepy Joe.
I love that.
Sleepy Joe is our decaf blend. It's a dark roast. And then I think we're doing Unwoke is the decaf light roast.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That's right. And it was from our Discord members helped with those names. So Sleepy Joe, that's a really good name.
That is a very, very good name for decaf, to be honest.
Sleepy Joe.
I don't think there is a single better name for a political decaf brand of coffee. I don't think you could come up with
Sleepy Joe. Yeah. And then we have Stand Your Grounds.
Man.
I think that one's a medium roast. And it's got Roberto Jr. on it. He's a little picture of him and he's yelling. Roberto Jr. is a good dude, you know.
It's got an AR-15.
Nope. Just as look, what makes the rooster noble is that without weapons, they will run full speed to their deaths to save their hens.
It's based.
So when a predator shows up, the rooster will charge it, knowing it will die, if it gives the hens a few moments to flee and get to safety. And everybody's always ragging on chickens like they're scared. It's like, you kidding? Roosters are brave, man. And it is crazy to me because anybody who has chickens knows roosters will attack you.
Yeah.
They're not scared at all. They're kind of stupid.
Exactly.
Don't come at me, bro.
They're principled. I mean, maybe this is a good symbol for our discussion about our culture.
It used to be like it used to be considered a powerful, noble, holy symbol.
Right.
The chicken and the rooster. And roosters were on like a lot of flags and iconography were roosters. And that's why I'm like, we're taking rooster back, baby. But think about human males fleeing in these videos, like a woman is getting beaten in a Target and the guy's like, I don't want to be involved. Then you look at a rooster and it's like, I might die, but I'm going to try and save my hens. And then it runs full speed into a fox's mouth. It's like, wow.
The Chad rooster.
Yeah.
the soy jack human. I'm sorry. I got to stop.
Don't need goats.
I have a problem.
We don't need goats. We don't need donkeys, or we just need the roosters.
Roosters are legit, man. And chickens are funny too. They do their thing. They give us eggs. They're good stuff. Principal Paladin of the Great Pope Tato says the followers of Bert the Craven are worshiping a false idol. Seamus is prophesied to lead us to glory in the Church of the Sacred Spud. Pass basket.
This is just listen.
You got to get in the Discord.
Oh, is this what they're going on about?
Yeah.
Is this what they're listen? I don't like the potato labels. They're very offensive to me, and I've told you guys before. But I think the more I tell you, the more you do it. So I'm just gonna have to embrace it. I love the potato label.
Hequibus says, Seamus, does Luke's chair smell like Trump derangement syndrome?
Oh, it smells way grosser than that. Yeah. I gotta tell you about Luke.
We'd get a super chat and they would be like, that one time Trump saved that box of puppies from the fire was great. And Trump would be like, but we don't know if he didn't put them in there. Maybe he put those puppies in the fire. And the report, I'm just kidding, Luke.
No, we're not.
He's at home going,
we're making fun of you for real. And by the way, Luke, my name is going to be placed under this chair.
We Are Changed says, Luke gang strong, puking potato man weak.
Wait, did he say Luke gang strong? Bro, are you one of your own fans? You can't. Oh, I get it. He forgot to switch from his sock puppet account. And he accidentally posted it from We Are Change. How embarrassing.
All right, ADP says the problem. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard own everything. They want ESG perversion. Fox loses 50% of its viewers, but gains 50% more adverts from Nike, J&J, Unilever, etc. How do you overcome that? You just got to keep doing what you're doing. Because those adverts don't mean anything if nobody's buying those products. The circulation won't be there, so just got to keep on keeping on. Keep it up. What do we got? Renovation says, sounds like Tucker might house debates. Might be wrong, but think on it. Maybe. Who knows what it'll do.
If they have debates, they got to have them. Yeah, they got to get Trump to agree.
Tuesday's Child says, for Steve Krakauer, do you think Meghan would moderate a debate on her show?
For sure. We'd love to. Yeah. I mean, I think Meghan's moderated debates before, and most notably with the Trump moment.
When he called Rosie O'Donnell a fat pig, right?
Yes. And then after that, had a grudge against Meghan for months after that and caused a whole bunch of stuff. So, she's fantastic.
She's great, though.
She's a fantastic debate moderator, and she'd love to do it again, I'm sure. We'll love to do that.
Right on. Let's grab some more. Did I read this one? S.A. Federale says, working class drinker here, speaking for us. I loved a Bush latte, a Bush Light, until this bee came out saying, Miller High Life is the champagne of beers now. There was a period there, and I didn't say the entirety of the super chat. All right, what do we got? Track Media Only says, one of the greatest things the left has done up to this point was convince the right they didn't boycott. Mm-hmm. Is that what they're like? Convincing the right not to boycott.
Well,
right?
So what happens every single time conservatives say anything bothers them, the left goes, I thought you were against cancel culture. As if being against cancel culture means you're never upset about anything that happens anywhere for any reason.
And you'll buy any product from anyone.
Exactly.
So it's like a guy who's, literally in prison for killing someone, and you're like,
he's like,
there's no problem here.
Exactly.
I'll hire him to go to my preschool.
The judge sentences him, and the guy's like, I thought you were against cancel culture, bro. Like, okay.
But that's also the distinction. Like, there might be people who want Bud Light to get shut down, but I don't think that's what a lot of the people who are boycotting Bud Light feel. I think they're just saying, I'm not buying that. I'm not going to support that. And if we get enough people to do that, they're going to lose money, and that's going to affect what they do.
I do think it may not actually be the boycott. I think the boycott may be much smaller than we realize. And what's really driving this is that middle-aged dudes don't want to look gay. Yeah. And I mean that.
Well, that is a kind of boycott. In a literal sense. But that is a boycott. Right.
I mean it in a literal sense. Like they associate Bud Light with LGBTQ, and they don't want to be perceived that way
in this moment. Yeah.
So they're just like, I'm not going to buy that. People are going to think things about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you don't like Bud Light enough, like if there's the alternatives are okay enough for you, then you're going to be fine to just find an alternative in the short term.
Aaron Cowell says, check out Edgar Watches. Aside from good product, they make specific and directed anti-woke ads. I saw that. That looks pretty cool. Edgard Watches. There's a viral video. They had an ad, I guess. It was like very anti-woke. What do we got? Korik says, Tim, they recently adopted saying they are for America and the Betsy Ross flag is no longer racist. Who, Bud Light, or what are you talking about? No idea. Grofty says, Fortunate Son is badass. That is correct. Fortunate Son is badass. Alexander Scarpecci says Tucker Carlson's ex-producer sounds like someone the Biden admin would hire. That's my question. Like, what's the vetting process at Fox News? But this is what people don't realize. Fox News employees are liberals.
Yep.
They live in New York City.
Yep.
They are not conservatives.
Yeah, I in the book I track. You could spend about an hour and a half and hit the headquarters of Fox News, which is across the street from the headquarters of NBC, CNN, CBS, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. It's all in a very 20-block radius. And Fox News, they cater to a different audience, but they're right in that same area. It's not as different as people think.
Not Heisenbear says, tell us about the black sheep hat, please.
I got it to buckle. I don't know. I saw it online. Thought it was a cool hat. There's no story behind it. I wish I had a cool story, but I just love the hat and it was a cool design. And spent the $50.
It's shiny.
It is shiny. I do like how shiny it is.
Roger Page says, I have to strongly disagree with Tim on kids not wanting to be like others. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say that. You see what you did there. When kids play house, they want to be like their parents. When kids play pretend, they want to be like someone else, maybe even a non-existent ideal. I never said we have to ask ourselves why kids want to be like someone else. I'm saying why they so desperately want to be someone other than themselves. It is a fact that people want to be like other people, but they are themselves. They're like, I'm me, this is what I look like. And if you want to be like someone else, you exercise, you get fit, you practice, you train, and you make yourself better. I'm specifically talking about people who don't even want to be in their own bodies. They want to be in video games, they want to be in avatars, or they want to be a different race or gender or something. Not what they literally are. But I do agree with your assessment. I just think you misinterpreted mine. I think kids absolutely imitate and want to be like other people. Still themselves, though. Okay, let's grab some more super chats over here. What do we got? Ooh, read that one. Oh, I went too far back. It jumps, because super chats will all come flying. Yeah. Bobcat says, Tim, I'm glad to see you giving a job to a failed artist like Seamus. Have you thought about heading up to the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival? I was really concerned when, Seamus, an art student, and where he might go if he didn't have proper support. And he may end up working for the Democrats. So
yeah, no, that's exactly it. I was about to start Commie Tunes, and then
that's right.
Tim came along and he said, "You don't have to live that life, Shane."
I will voice Dr. Fauci to save your company.
That's what happened.
Yes.
Yep. The Freedom Tunes is funded because Tim pays me to voice Dr. Fauci. That's where we get all of our money.
No. It was that
it
was failing until I voiced Dr. Fauci in a masterpiece.
It's true.
Of the Lord of the Rings bit.
I won't deny it. It's true.
It's your best work.
The Lord of the Rings one.
Yeah, it was an incredible video.
We wrapped up a show, and then I can't remember exactly what it was.
We were just riffing and saying stupid things, and you said, I was there the day the strength of Trump failed, and I was cracking up. And then we did this whole improv. Dude, the original improv we did was way longer than the video. I mean, it must have been 10 minutes long, because then I came in.
I read the script.
You read the script explaining it as...
The day the strength of Trump failed.
And then I was like Trump giving his testimony, and I was basically retelling The Lion King, and Trump is Mufasa and Fauci is Scar.
And then we did a really offensive one that you said you would never upload.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we did more than one. There's one, we definitely did a very offensive one.
We did one.
Fauci one?
No, yeah. So Fauci is in Hollywood.
Okay.
And someone comes
Oh my gosh, that's one. We've done.
He's
There's
basically
a
Harvey
few.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
Right,
There's a few.
It's like, if you want to get a job in this town, you gotta let me stick it in.
There was a couple that
we never ran that one.
No, I was like, I'm not making that. I was like, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, save it, because I can't get enough Fauci. I mean, he is not going to go away, and the tide is kind of turning on him now. I feel like with enough people that it's only going to get better. I mean, I want more Dr. Fauci.
I do have to say, the Fauci one I did, blaming a bat, that Tim also reprised his Fauci voice in. It was one of our more recent ones.
When
everyone on the team, I said we were all very happy with that one and how it turned out.
When the bat goes, yeah, it was making a murderer or whatever.
It was just like all of those crime shows.
Blaming
you guys have
bat.
to check it out. Just go to Freedom Tunes and check out the Lab League cartoon we did with Fauci. It's blaming a bat. Yeah.
Oh man, the Fauci one. I really do think Seamus should have put it up, but Seamus was like, it's too grotesque.
That's right.
And it was like,
I have standards too.
Yeah.
Who are we worried about offending? Fauci or Harvey Weinstein?
No, I usually just don't get like too blue with the
Right,
humor. I don't
right,
get sexual.
yeah, it was pretty awful.
Yeah.
All right, where are we at? James Madison's Go says, did you hear that Trans Minnesota rep introduced Bill HF 1655 to remove, all right, we're going to read it, to remove pedos as an exclusion to the protected class of sexual orientation. We will go into detail on that because it's a kind of a freaky story and not very family friendly over at timcast.com in the uncensored members only show. So that'll be on the front page of timcast.com at about 10 p.m. Eastern. You'll want to be a member to watch that, and we'll take some calls from the audience, but let's read some more. Ted Thornton says, indoctrinate your kids with truths as soon as possible when they are a sponge. The more of us that do this, the more likely it spreads through friend groups and counter to public education. Kids understand more than we think. I agree. Kids are smart. It's always weird that people would say like kids are so dumb. They're not. They're actually really smart. They just lack information. So the difference between not being smart and lacking information. There's a lot of people who are very, very smart but lack information. And you'll be like, I can't believe you didn't know this, but they're really good at like math and solving problems and things like that.
Yeah, like their brains aren't fully formed to the point where they can really make logical decisions or work their way through things, but they remember things in such an incredible manner.
Yeah. They start going down that road of logic, though. I have to say, like
Yeah.
the things that seem illogical now in our politics. Like I have a 6-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
and it's like even if you start to scratch the surface, it's like, wait, why? What do you? And yeah, it's like that's actually a good point. Yeah.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says Roberto Jr. is the second best junior. He's the first best junior. Where are we at? Jeremy Wien says someone needs to make that picture a rooster facing a predator. We have a flag. It's a stand your ground flag, and it's Roberto Jr. a rooster like standing tall with his wings out.
The rooster has to be protecting kids from a drag queen story hour. The rooster's like in between the kids.
I kind of just like the idea that he's protecting the chickens from a snake or something.
He could just be he could go around he has to protect children because human men won't.
Yep. He runs into danger. That's what he does. Kamala Nora says women want real men. I only see real men on your show. Tucker will do fine. AB is done because real men say so. Yeah. Scott Dietrich says Busch Gardens is not associated with Anheuser-Busch as of a few years ago. They are separate companies. Well, there you go. What do we have? The Belch says the Brent Mason Telly is the Tucker Carlson of Timcast. Bring it back. It's just right there. It's like it's over on that side. And then I have the Harmony silhouette behind me. Everybody likes the Brent Mason, I guess. I like the colors, but I play the silhouette more, so it's a good guitar. Where are we at? Roger Page says that was a good response. Thank you, Tim. Oh, thank you for your super chat. Ooh, what is this? Michael TB says amusement parks only thing wholly owned by Anheuser-Busch. So Busch Gardens is different, I guess. Mac Rabbit says in the Hispanic culture, they call the dad, new fathers, El Gallo. Pronounced gallo, rooster. That's right. El Gallo means the rooster. Buck. Derek Manson says Potato Boy versus funky last name T-shirt guy feud of the century.
That's right. I can accept those names.
We
Funky
have,
last name T-shirt boy. He's so jealous. He's so jealous.
We got
That's
a Polish rooster. Mail order in an egg, and then you incubate him. And when he hatched, it's Polish rooster.
Okay.
So he has a cool haircut where his hair comes out and it parts down the middle, and he's blonde and he's got a big nose. And Luke was here and he was like, he's like, hey, he looks like, he looks just like me. He's Polish and he's got a big nose. And we were like, so we named him Little Luke.
Okay.
And now I tell people, not only does he have the parted hair and a big nose, but he screams a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Does he stick up for the chickens? Does he protect them?
He actually is separated because the Polish chickens and roosters have domed heads. So you don't want to mix them because if they peck each other, they'll die.
Oh, wow.
It'll give them a concussion and then and then they eat the body. Because chickens are brutal, dude.
They are brutal animals, honestly.
Yeah. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, Harumphai say it's a poem, not a rap, amigo. Oh, well, there you go. I read your poem. Vanity says, started a YouTube channel talking politics from blue collar. When I get the play button, will you do a kickflip on it, Tim? First super chat, by the way. You're going to send me your button. You want me to kickflip on it? You know what we could do is I have a bunch of those golden play awards from YouTube. I think we have like 5, and we use one of them as a to prop the window open. We just like stick it in the window, and it's But we could mount it to some trucks and skateboard on it. That'd be funny.
Do you get that at a million?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're
So-
nearing that at the Megyn Kelly show, I have to say.
We got like one on the floor. That's the one we used to prop open the window. Yeah, because it is kind of funny. I'm sure there are people out there that are like, I wish I had one of those. And it's like, yeah, but a million used to be something bigger than it is now. Because there was a period where it was really, really hard. Now there's like a million channels in the millions. Like everybody's got one. And then people buy fake ones or whatever.
You know what? Calm down, Tim. Okay, a million's an accomplishment.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we have a bunch of them.
Oh,
too.
I'm Tim. I'm too cool to think having a million subscribers.
We got this right here.
Cool.
Look at this
My
one.
channel's big.
See
Like
this?
that.
This is heavy. The Rumble Award. But I just got to say to the Rumble guys, it says Timcast IRL 500,000 followers. We don't have 500,000 followers on Rumble.
Wow. Hold on. Let me see what you have on Rumble right
It's
now.
like 375 or 400 or something.
You don't deserve a one of
Thinking in
them.
advance.
But the actual account has like a million or something.
You have 387,000. Yeah,
And
that's
then
true.
the multiple channels on it add up to like 800 or 900,000 or something like that. I think that's why they sent it, but they just instead of putting I think Timcast IRL might be the account name. So if you look at the channel, it just says 300 or whatever. But I guess on Rumble, one account has multiple channels and the followers count towards the one account or something. But this is cool. This is super heavy.
That's
like, you could hurt somebody with this thing. Anyway.
Rumble's throwing them
That was
some
ominous.
money, Crowder, Russell Brand. It's kind of
Oh,
it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
It's interesting.
But more importantly is the skateboarding stuff they're doing in video games.
Oh, yeah?
They're getting outside of politics, yeah. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. We're going to have a very unfamily-friendly, uncensored show coming up for you at about 10 p.m. So you're not gonna want to miss this one unless you don't like hearing about weird, gross things and law. And but this one's a serious show. If you become a member at least $25 per month, or if you're a member for at least 6 months, you can actually call into the show. So sign up. We'd love to see you in the Discord. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Steve, you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, so Uncovered is my book. Readuncovered.com to find it. It doesn't just look at what happened the last 7 years, but why it happened, how it happened, be prepared for when it happens again. I kind of give you the tools to do that.
Right on.
My name is Seamus Coughlin. I make cartoons at a YouTube channel called Freedom Tunes. If you guys want to go over there, check them out. We're releasing a cartoon tomorrow on the whole Tucker Carlson debacle. I also have a podcast and live stream at the channel Shamer on Rumble. So that's rumble.com/Shamer if y'all want to go check that out.
Word.
Adrian Norman, staff writer here at Timcast. You can find me here on social media. I'm at Adrian Norman DC. On Rumble, it's actually just Adrian Norman, as well as Truth Social and YouTube.
And I am Serge.com. It was a good show tonight. Thanks, guys.
We will see you all over at timcast.com in about 10 minutes. Don't miss it. We'll see y'all there.